But without further ado, I'm gonna bring up our other brother. First, shout out to Smart Fool in the chat. He said, "Give me the Magic first round to toughen the Knicks up and go on a run to the trophy, bro." The way the Magic are playing, I don't even know if those fools are gonna make it to the playoffs. Like, let's see what happens with those guys. Like, that's a team that early in the season I was like, "Yo, these guys could be something," and I'm like, "Oh, basura," like I don't know what's happening there. But without further ado, I'm gonna bring up, since we're talking about Charlotte, our brother who lives in Charlotte. All right, Mr. Apollo Reed.
Oh, was good, was good, was good. I got
Chilling, bro. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm here now. It's, work's been work's been crazy. Work's been crazy. It picks the right day to go off too. So
Yeah. No, it's all good. I completely understand.
yeah.
So I want you to chop it up real quick about your thoughts on the Charlotte game, and then before we go into our first pour, I'm gonna bring up Logan from Blue Note, and I'm excited to chop it up with him. I don't even know if he cares about basketball, but I don't really care because good whiskey is good whiskey, and in between good basketball talks, we have good whiskey. We've done that before. We can do it again. But luckily, the whiskey doesn't suck, so it's going to be a good time no matter what. So, what are your thoughts, Apollo? What did you see in that game?
I mean, I saw a team that was on a run that actually is starting to develop chemistry and getting healthy, and they actually, you know, they took us by surprise. I feel like sometimes we go into these games with teams that are, obviously below us in the standings, and we kind of like don't really uh come into the game with energy as if we really want to win that game. And these guys, the moment that ball went up, they just, it was crazy. And I live in Charlotte, like you said, and I've been to plenty Knicks versus Charlotte games. And that was the first time I've ever seen. And I wasn't at the game, but that was the first time I've ever seen the Charlotte crowd louder than the Knicks crowd during that game.
Mhm.
Ever.
That's
Ever.
sad. That's
And
sad.
Really, it was just the baby. It was just the baby that was mad loud. He was going crazy.
no,
Dude took his
no,
shirt
it was
off. He was
he
wild.
was he was going crazy. He was going crazy. But no, but
Nah,
seriously,
but they was hype. They were turned in
they
there. They was turned.
they with they have a lot of, listen, I talk to a lot of people who are fans out here of Charlotte, and they are
They buzzing.
ecstatic because
Yeah.
it's not only is it that they're finally starting to play well, they have young talent that is starting to
Yeah.
develop into a player. Like this is a team that's a playoff team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially that kid Knipple, he's been on it. I think he's the fastest player to 250 3-pointers in NBA history or something like that, or maybe no, maybe I think it was in no, I feel like it might have been NBA history. I'm not sure. Either way, it's either NBA history or Hornets history, but I feel like it was NBA history either way. The kid he's been, you saw what he started to do. He just started to light up, and that's the verdict on us during those games is just shoot threes. That's really all you got to do versus the Knicks. And it's frustrating sometimes because it's almost as if they know that people know that, and they don't really try to change it. But it is what it is. I'm at this point. I know that we're in playoff mode, so they're starting not to really care about some of these games. I can start to see like that energy in a way. Like it's like, what, let's just, I'm looking towards the playoffs, which it happens to teams towards the end of the season. But I just that was the beginning of a downfall from that game there.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I don't think that we've done enough yet this season to take the foot off the gas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like even in this 7-game win stretch, I don't think that I've seen enough to go, oh, yeah, we're chip ready. This is something that we've been talking in the KOT chat is there was a point that we were like, this is chip time, but when you win 110-107 to a Warriors team that's trash, when you when you barely, I think we won by like 8 or 9 against a Pacers team that is absolutely, basura. Like it's just we haven't seen enough. Like even in March when we went up against the Nets, we beat the Nets by a point. Like these are the things that make me go, okay, but are we fully ready? Like we beat the Pelicans by 5. Are we really ready for 7 games against, Boston, against Detroit, against the Cavs, even against like the Hawks? Or some of these teams that are fighting right now that are looking way different than we were before. Like, are we fully ready? We won against the Jazz, but it was not until the fourth quarter that we really started beating them, and none of their starters are really playing. Like it's all their bench. So yes, we've won a lot of these games, but I'm not so sure. And I'm not so sure that we're fully ready for some of these big teams. So Al asked me like to talk about before we bring Logan up, like, are we afraid of Charlotte? To me, I'm not afraid of Charlotte, but I also don't think that in 7 games we should not think that there's a possibility of Charlotte beating us. Because those guys show effort, and Al was like, yeah, but they're inexperienced. And I'm like, no, they may be inexperienced when it comes to like being in the playoffs because their team has never been good enough to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They did a wise thing in bringing Grant Williams in, for veteran presence. He has played in a lot of playoff games and he's got that experience. LaMelo's been in the league, so it's not like they're rookies that are inexperienced. They're just inexperienced in the playoffs. But Brandon Miller's experienced, LaMelo's experienced. Like,
I would kind of compare that series if we were to play them in a series, compare it to like the Pistons series last year.
Yeah,
like
that's how I feel about it.
It would be a tough series, but we end up winning because they don't have that experience yet, like the veteran kind of leadership that we have on this team. But yeah, I would compare it to that series.
But the reason I would not compare it to that is because Duren was not what Duren is now. Like Duren was still a rookie, and Cade really had nobody. Like Tobias Harris was not playing Tobias Harris this year basketball. Like it just was not the same team. It was pretty much Cade and the Pips. No one knew or cared about anybody else. Cade was Gladys Knight and the rest were the Pips. And he couldn't do it on his own. And Cade wasn't as good of the player that he is this year. Like Cade could score last year, but he wasn't making his teammates better like he is this year. So I think there's a level of that because none of even then Cade was less experienced than Brandon Miller is, less experienced than LaMelo has been, less experienced than Miles Bridges has been. Those guys have been in the league. They've played against our guys for a long time. Cade, not so much, and he didn't have any backup last time. So it was Justin Timberlake and the rest of the guys. It was back to the NSYNC days for the Pistons. I don't really think that's the way that it is with the Hornets this year.
Yeah, they definitely do have like more weapons, but I think I'm not gonna sit here and worry or be afraid of them. Just for the same reasons that I didn't fear. Like last year, everyone was on Twitter was worried about Detroit. They were like, I don't want to see Detroit. I don't want to see Detroit. And I was like, well, I'm also of the cloth that I'm like, yo, if we're supposed to be a championship team, then just line them up and we got to knock them down. I don't really care. I'm not going to sit here and lose sleep over who we play. If we're really like that, line them up and let's knock them down. Period.
Let's see. I don't know. Earlier in the season, I might have been more believing that we are the contenders in the East. I don't think in the last stretch of games and in the last, even most of the season, I don't think we've gotten to that place of comfortability where I can go, yeah, we're chipped. Like
definitely not. No, I didn't say I was there.
No, hell no.
As soon as I get excited, them fools are like, yo, you made a post about us on Twitter. You better hit delete. We just lost to so-and-so. I'm like, what the frick? I'm getting roasted by people, it's ridiculous. All right, without further ado, I want to bring up our guests. All right. So there's a brand by the name of Blue Note. All right. And as a whiskey content creator, you see brands pop up, some even in the short time that I've been a, whiskey influencer over the last like 3.5, 4 years. There's been some brands that have popped up and then I'm like, whatever happened to those guys? And it was just like that quick, they show up and they're gone within that 4 years. But there was a certain time that I tasted something, and it was Blue Note Juke Joint. All right. And these guys, all of a sudden, single barrels were being released everywhere. Juke joint picks were like uncut juke joint picks were everywhere in Florida. Like, it's seriously like just boom. Every store was like, check out my juke joint drop on Friday. Well, I have one on Saturday. It was like, holy crap. It was like Pokemon. You had to collect them all. And those juke joint uncut picks were ridiculous. Like, that is what got me into the brand, was those juke joint picks. It was like, if I could find one, I was going to get it. If I was broke that week, I could trade for it. And so I had so many different juke joint picks from Florida that it was ridiculous. From Liquor Depot to First Ave Liquors, from gas bars, from, Tommy. Like, everybody had a juke joint pick and I wanted them all. And so I'm excited to have these guys on the show, because some of the other releases that we're going to talk about are also absolutely delicious, and I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy them. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring up our guys, Logan and Dan of Blue Note. So welcome to the panel, boys.
Phil, thank you for having us.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Glad to be here, man.
That was a flashback of the past few years that certainly are no longer that way when it comes to single barrels, but it's fun to live back the heyday.
Yeah, it was seriously crazy. Like, I was seriously on Instagram and Facebook, and it was like, for a period of like 3 months, it was just nonstop, like places within driving distance that were dropping those uncut juke joint picks. And I was like,
I think Trey at Liquor Depot went through like 4 of them that year.
Yep, definitely did. And it was crazy because it was like each one had something distinct. So it was like, I couldn't just go, oh, well, I have a juke joint pick. It was like I had to justify why I needed another juke joint pick.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? Finding all different flavors in there.
For you guys, not for my wallet, but yeah, for you.
The pocketbook hates it.
Yeah, exactly. So welcome, guys. Appreciate you guys so much. Before we get into the first pick, you guys into sports, basketball, anything like that?
So I heard your question about that. So my honest answer was, if you would have asked that question several years ago, the answer would have been a heck of a lot more yes. But that would have been the heyday of the Grizzlies. Back when I was a season ticket holder, that was Mike, Mark, Tony, and like that was it for me.
Yeah.
That style of basketball. And here you guys talk about, are we really ready for the playoffs, or are we just luck in? That's basically what Memphis was year after year. It's like, yeah, we kept getting there, but we could never quite clinch it.
Yeah.
But sadly, we haven't been in that place for quite a few years, but maybe sooner or later we'll get back.
Yeah. It's kind of sad to see, like, you guys went all in on like Ja Morant being the future of the Grizzlies. And it's just like, there's that ceiling you guys have not been able to break past. So,
and then you
all right, what about
LeBron
you?
with his comments today too?
What happened?
LeBron's comments about get out of Memphis.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
That's crazy.
We can talk about that later.
Yes.
Yeah,
Dan,
I live over in Jersey, so I'm pretty close to you guys. So I grew up being a big Nets fan, going to see like, Carter, Kidd, all those guys, obviously. And then they moved to New York, bunch of traders, man. That was tough. So since then, I kind of switched over. My dad's been a big Knicks fan his whole life. So I've kind of been following the Knicks more so. But I just had a kid, so watching the games with free time isn't really hasn't been happening too much. So, but I'm still following him. Obviously, this is probably the best I've ever seen him since even when Melo was on the team years ago. So that's at least they're fun to watch when I can get a couple games in.
No, I love that. And switching over is the wisest thing you could have done. I
think so. That's in rough shape right now.
I had no problem when the Nets were, in Jersey. That's fine. Stay there. But to try to come into the place where there is already the mecca of basketball and being like, hey, we're going to come compete.
But
And
they
then
didn't need to do it, man. And they go to Brooklyn. Come on, that's a hike from Jersey. That's crazy.
For real. It's like all your fans were there, and now you're surprised that everyone in your stands has a different team jersey than the actual Nets.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there are no Nets fans.
Nah,
so,
traders, man.
Yeah. All right. So let me know, you know, like what are your guys' roles with the brand?
I'll let Dan go first.
I'm the director of sales for the country. So, you know, my job is to get it into the stores, the restaurants, all that, you know, making sure that people can get access to it. So we've been expanding a couple states, obviously been pretty prevalent, Florida, New York, New Jersey, and then kind of expanding to the West. So it's been a fun ride for sure. I've been a Blue Note drinker myself even before I started working for the company.
Okay.
I found it kind of like you, Phil. Like I saw a couple stores with some single barrel picks, so I was picking them up. Then I was working for a tequila brand at the time. So, you know, when I had the opportunity to come over here, I was like, you know, I'm already drinking it and I might as well get paid for it now. So
yeah,
it was a great fit, you know.
Help seal the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Logan.
Yep. So I'm president, COO. Didn't exactly have the same ability to drink Blue Note before came over because it really only existed in a couple of bottles prior to my joining the team. But originally came on as CFO, then COO, then president. So pretty good progression since 2019.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Were you in the spirits world before coming into Blue Note?
So not at all. So my background was finance. So I worked in banking and then did audit tax advisory work. But then looking back to college, did a whole lot of focused marketing studies in the alcohol industry. So seems like I was always going there, just took a pretty long hiatus in the middle.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So you've been with since 2019, and 2019. Dan, how long?
It's been about 2 years for me.
2019.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Still pretty new.
That's awesome. Cool. So what would you say like Blue Note's main thing is? You know, like there's certain brands like 2XO is like, we are double oaked. Like everything is going to have a double oak kind of vibe to it. What would you say like Blue Note's level of this is what we kind of target in the bourbon world?
So I'll take this one, Dan, because it's what I was actually talking to somebody in Kansas City on chat earlier today about. And we have a full family of products and they're all at a price point that you can just go out and grab off the shelf. It's like, yeah, we've got LTOs that you might have to chase. But the consistency of what we have across our different SKUs, I think is a little bit of something for everybody. And like the marketing pitches from 93 proof to cast strength, we kind of have it all, but the reality is we do. So it's a pretty nice playbook to be able to pull out and at least give Dan a fighting chance when he goes to the streets to fight it out.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, my thing, it's just good whiskey for a good price. You know, some of the whiskey prices we gotten a little crazy over the last couple of years, so that's why I always gravitated towards Blue Note. We get a quality product at a good price. I mean, that's what it's about and what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I can confirm that because there's certain bottles that, you know, you see from some distilleries and I'm like, I'm sure it's good, but I'm not going to spend $180 for a 5 or 6 year whiskey. Like, I don't care how good it is, you know, like that just seems like you're robbing me a little bit, you know?
No, exactly.
That cost of trial and that risk of like, okay, the first bottle was good, but is the second or third from them? If it's not, then you really feel bad about that brand.
Exactly. And so being that your guys like bottle, you know, the highest aged bottle, the 17 year is still at like $160 MSRP, you know, like you can't really beat that. You know, you can't beat a 17-year-old whiskey at $150, $160 MSRP. Obviously, you know, you got the trolls on Facebook and all that are going to mark it up like crazy. But if you're, you know, not duped into that and you actually buy MSRP, it's a stellar deal. So I love that. That's really cool. All right, so let's go straight into the first pour. Because the non-whiskey drinkers are like, all right, drink already. Talk a little more basketball while you drink. And I'm like, all right.
I'll be joining you guys too. I got my juke joint right here.
Awesome. Well, let's start. Which is, let's see, what's the?
I would recommend juke joint. Then I think got the Crossroads, the Rye, and then the Special Reserve to cap it all.
All right. Yeah. So the juke joint is 93. Oh, also, we're not going to be going through these, but if you guys see these anywhere as well, if you were watching, these single barrel Ryes
Yeah.
These things are nasty. Woo!
Those are a little harder to find, but those are some of my favorite products we make. Those single barrel rye.
This is one that I'm like nurturing, as you can see. Like I do not want to let it go.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get you another one. No worries there.
Okay, First Ave. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the one I was able to get my hands on. All right, so let's go into this blue joint. This is a 93 proof. All right, small batch. All right, so tell us a little bit about Blue Note juke joint as we pour up.
So go for it, Dan.
No, you take it away.
Oh,
you're the expert here.
So yeah, I'm the expert who always tells people I'm never going to give you tasting notes or anything and lead you through the process because ultimately what I'm tasting is going to be probably pretty different than what you are.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we present this product as 93 proof, so it's got enough to stand up in a glass, but it's not going to be overpowering. If you're used to drinking something like an 80 proof, you can still step into it. But really trying to have those traditional bourbon profiles that you can recognize on that first sip.
Yeah, what I like about it too, it's on the cusp of being like a high rye kind of bourbon. So there's a 21% rye in that mash bill. So you get a nice blend of that sweet and spicy profile, adding in like layering the baking spice notes and everything.
Yeah.
Which for me I think is great, especially at this price point. It's very cocktailable. So when I'm home making an old fashioned Manhattan Sazerac, I can still reach for a bourbon in there and still get that rye spice that I want coming into my cocktail.
I love that. And that's, what I like about juke joint is, like you said, I love making cocktails for friends, but I also, if let's say I take a bunch of cocktail bottles over to make some cocktails, if I want to drink something neat, I don't typically like some of the ones that I would use in a cocktail. And I'm like, I don't want to drink this neat. But this, I can take it. If I decide I want to drink neat instead of the cocktail, it's still a great pour neat. So I'll let the guys take a sip. And even though you don't give a note because you're the guy and you don't want to mislead or like coach anybody, I'll let each one of them give something. Since I've already tasted this many times, I'll let them give their thoughts before anything.
Very nice. Smooth. Still feels that 93% proof, that 93 proof. That's nice. I like it to have a little bite. Let me see. Second sip. You definitely get some vanillas, some caramel, traditional bourbon flavors there. I get a little buttery something in there as well, like kind of creamy, and then some light fruit, maybe a little cherry flavor in there as well.
Yo, Paul, I think you're muted.
How old is this bourbon?
Thank you.
These are all right at 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
I was saying I definitely can taste the oak in there. But before that, I'm getting like a vanilla, like you said, the traditional vanilla caramel kind of taste from it, and I'm definitely getting the oak, but it doesn't bite as much as some other ones. It's really, really smooth. I definitely like to taste this one. This is really good.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely traditional bourbon. You get the light oak plays really nice with the vanilla. I even get like hints of like pear notes.
I was about to say pear is the go-to. That's why I never say it.
Yeah. And so
I was gonna say a stone fruit earlier, but I didn't know which one, so I just didn't want to just throw that out there.
Yeah.
And the reason I say pear is because there are a lot that when it comes to bourbons will hit you with like more of a citrus or more of more of a cherry, with some traditional bourbons. So I like the pear. I like that it gives a little bit of a different kind of sweetness, that pairs really nicely with that. And so that's why in a cocktail, it would be good because it brings out a little bit of sweetness, but it's not overpoweringly sweet, and that oak balances it really well. So you're not looking for a lot of additives to sweeten it up for the person that isn't so whiskey forward, but it's also perfectly balanced for the person that is whiskey forward in a cocktail. So
versatile. That's kind of the idea with the juke joint. Just make it versatile, kind of a favorite for everybody.
That's the fruit that I was tasting. I was like, I'm tasting the fruit. And I was like, is this cherry? I was trying to figure it out, but it's pear. I was like, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And the reason I like that is sometimes I love the cherry on some whiskeys, but sometimes I get a medicinal cherry taste to it when it blends with like the alcohol, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hated cherry medicine as a kid, and this might be good to somebody else, but this brings like nightmares of me not wanting to take the cherry medicine.
Bad memories.
The thing I like about the pear is that it doesn't give it's pear's not like a very overpowering taste. You know what I mean? Like it's something that can be like an undercut in a way. So that's really why pears really well. Pairs like
there you go.
Pairs really well with it.
See what you did there.
Nice.
Marketing.
I love it. All right, so guys, before we go into any Knicks talk, what is the MSRP on Blue Note for those that are watching?
So this comes in usually anywhere from like $30 to $35. So like I said, it's approachable, profile wise, price point wise. Something you don't feel bad mixing, but not afraid to drink and eat. So
yeah. That's awesome. All right, guys. Like we said earlier, tonight is a flight night, so we will be going through 4 pours from Blue Note Bourbon throughout the night. We'll talk a little bit right now about these New York Knicks. If you're in the chat, I see y'all blowing it up. Shout out to Carbon Intellect. Shout out to Randu 1973. Is it Randu or Randu? Either way, shout out to you. Shout out to Rara 42680. I always wonder what those numbers mean. When I see that on a YouTube, person chiming in with us, I'm like, what is a 42680? Like, I don't know if it's like something important or just like in high school when it's like, hey, I was creating an AOL thing and it was like add numbers and you're like, whatever, just
instant messenger days.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's when it generates its own like kind of code kind of thing. I don't know why it does that, because it even does that on Xbox on some people's like gamer tags and stuff. It just adds numbers at the end, like for some odd reason.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I have a question. Do you guys disclose where you get the juice from for Juke Joint?
Yeah, so we've been working with Bardstown Green River, going back to Green River since 2018. So we've had a long relationship with them.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So we do all the agent and everything ourselves down in Memphis, which gives us a big benefit with the heat and humidity. I don't know if you guys have ever been down that way. It's Logan can attest, it is brutal in the summertime. And it still gets snow and everything, shuts the city down. Not like up here, 2 inches.
Right, real quick, sorry to interrupt. My wife just texted me. There's a spider she can't kill. I'm gonna go kill it. So I'm gonna
be the hero, Phil. Be the hero.
We're gonna host and talk about the second game, that Thunder game, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So you said the temperature swings over there are
and the humidity is big for us too. I think the humidity is probably the biggest thing for us. So less evaporation we lose, and then it forces the whiskey deeper into the barrel, so we're pulling out more flavor as the years go on.
Interesting.
Yeah, we had a brand on from Denver, Onyx and Amber, and they talked about how
good stuff.
The swings there really like increase, I guess, the flavor profile, or just change the flavor profile. It makes it kind of unique. So
Denver's hard because it's so dry.
Yeah. So you guys get some of those same things up in the Memphis region,
right next to the Mississippi.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't know that. I thought you guys had like more like steady temperature. But
all over the place. You come on down. We'll come down in the summertime. You'll be sweating.
I'm in Florida, so we sweat.
Oh, okay, there you go. So you're used to it.
We're like Florida with comparable humidity with winters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you still get winters. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, for bourbon, it's perfect, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's not like a New York winter. They get like an inch and they're shut down for like a week.
Oh, I figured.
It's like that in Charlotte. Like it's where I am in North Carolina. It's the moment they feel like it's going to snow, they shut school down. They shut everything. They don't even nothing fell from the sky yet. They shut everything down because they don't.
We got 2 feet up here. We're open at the next day. It was crazy.
That's crazy. Nope, not out here. They don't play
All
like
right.
that.
So, Memphis, great for aging and distilling. Not so great for basketball. We got that. You know, we got that in the bag there. All right. So let's talk about this next game, guys. All right. Spider's dead, by the way. Did my job. Husband of the year.
The exterminator.
You know, that's what I do. Change my name in a second from @Phil all caps to that. So OKC game, boys. 100 to 111. I'll go to you first, Apollo, since you joined us last in that first talk. What was your thought on that game?
I typically don't go this route, but the refs were on the payroll that game. I typically really don't go here. I don't like to blame the refs, but it just wasn't. It wasn't fair, man. Like, it was ridiculous. It was a lot of stuff. Like, you see all of the videos about Shea and the calls that he gets, and he gets to the line whenever he wants. But they put, I think Mike Brown got a technical this game, and they said he's got 2 technicals this season, and the last time he got a technical was versus OKC. I'm like, well, that's pretty ironic. But it's it's just one of those frustrating games, man. I feel like we could have done a lot better. Like I said, the loss to Charlotte, I think, kind of jolted us a little bit, and we couldn't really recover from that, and we carried that into a bunch of these games that we had, but notably that game with OKC. But it was one of those games where, not that I expected us to lose, but I know how the whistle can go with a team like that. There were a lot of plays where I'm just like, well, I think Shea took 16 free throws himself, and I think we only took 17.
Yep.
Like, come on, like, how are you gonna win a game like that? You know what I mean? So, like I said, we could have played a lot better. I don't like to take any responsibility away from the guys, because they absolutely dropped the ball. No pun intended, but the refs just really made it a lot harder for us to get into rhythm, and I think that's pretty much where we had an issue.
Yeah. All right, Al. Before I give my take, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had the free throws on there as one of the things to highlight. Turnovers. So before we get into that, I thought the Knicks came out a lot better in this game than in the Charlotte game. I thought they were ready to compete, and they competed for most of this game. And I think at the end, the bottom just fell out. But they were right there the whole game. But when you play OKC, they're going to get all these free throws. So you can't turn the ball over 19 times, right? You're just giving them free points.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we gave up 12 offensive rebounds. And I forget how many points they scored off of that. But it's like you're giving them 19 turnovers and 12 second chances. So that's an extra, my math's right, an extra 31 chances. Like, bro, you're not going to beat OKC. There's no way you're beating OKC if you do that. So that's why we lost the game. Now, this was the Cat game. Okay, this was the game that drove everyone crazy because Cat had the mismatch with Caruso. How tall is Caruso? Is he like 6'4"? Or is he taller than that? 6'5"?
6'3", 6'4".
He's not 7 foot. So I saw Cat get the ball. And bully him for a bucket one time. Then the second time he got the ball, he passed out of it. And then I just never saw him get the ball again down there. I don't understand why. So we didn't feed Cat that game when he had a mismatch the entire game. Now, if I'm at the Y, Phil, and this dude on my team, and you're guarding him, I'm spamming him all day. Yeah. He's getting buckets on you all day, bro. I'm sorry. I'm just picking on you. The Knicks don't do that. Like, we have to start doing that. So that was like the thing that got me a little worked up. The other thing about Cat, again, how many threes did he take? He took 1 3. You're supposed to be the best shooting big man in the history of the NBA. You take 1 3. not acceptable. So those are my points from the game.
All right. Some of them I think are fair. Some of us think are a little harsh. I was disappointed because I feel like this is a game that we could have won. At the end of the day, 19 assists is just not enough. Like when you have multiple players that can shoot, multiple players that can cut, multiple players that can score, 19 assists is not going to get you the W. At the end of the day, we need to be moving the rock more. We did get more rebounds than they did, so at the end of the day, I'm happy about that. And Cat, I wasn't disappointed with Cat on the amount of threes he took, because we've seen him have games where he can unleash at a high clip and score, but we've seen that very, very rare this season, like very rare this season. So the fact that he's found other ways to contribute, Homeboy by himself had 18 of our rebounds. Like you have 18 of 41 rebounds. Like I'm not going to crucify you about like you shooting when you had 18 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal as a big man, So I'm not going to get at him for that. The thing that is the frustrating part is both Jose and Brunson, which are our guys that are supposed to facilitate and protect the ball, both had 4 turnovers in a game. In a game against OKC, who they can score with the best of them. They have a roster full of elite talent. You cannot allow that to happen. Like you cannot allow that many turnovers. We had 18 to their 13. So that's always going to be an issue. So for me, that was frustrating because I felt like we were in striking distance, and yet we are the reason that we lost, not them, not them at all. I will say, I agree with you guys. I felt like we were playing 8 versus 5 on offense. I didn't know that you could wear, an OKC jersey and a black and white jersey at the same time and still be considered the same team. But that was just straight up trash. When one player has one less, freaking free throw than a whole NBA team. Like crazy. Someone's in your pocket, bro. Someone's in your pocket straight up. And I don't like blaming the refs all the time, but that's just ridiculous, especially when Jalen Brunson is a player that is known for getting into the paint and getting hit and getting to the foul line. Like, it's not like we had passive guys, like we had 5 McHales out there that are afraid of contact. Jalen Brunson loves to get fouled. And so the fact that as a whole team, we had 16 free throws or 17 free throws, absolute basura. But what's not basura is our next pour. And so we're going to go into that. All right. We talked basketball. You guys happy? No one's mad at me? Good. Now we're going to talk whiskey. So
now you're playing referee.
Right.
So we're going to go into this one. This is the Blue Note Crossroads. All right. It's got a little guy with a guitar. All right. A little bit of a Memphis kind of artist on the front right there.
Yeah.
Little tribute to Memphis music, I'm guessing. And this one is a straight bourbon whiskey finished with French oak, and it's 100 proof, which is always a good thing. Let's get a little info on this bad boy.
Yep. So this honestly is my favorite everyday product we have. Like you said, 100 proof. So you get that step up from Juke Joint. With the French oak finish, I'm not going to go too much into the notes, but you do get more like dessert profiles. Some of that sweetness comes through. And the word that is so overused in bourbon is smooth. But when people drink this and they realize it's 100 proof, the thing they consistently say is, but that's so smooth. And that's really just the byproduct of that secondary French oak finish coming through. But yeah, it's a really fun one for us to work with over the years and come into this stage of development and ultimately make it to the market.
Awesome. Someone said, send me a bottle. All right. Die Pistons, send me a message on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll make sure to get you a sample of this pour.
So, available online.
Yep. One available online when you find out how good it is. All right. It's funny that you say that because for someone that's in the industry, that's one of those, like, if I had become a whiskey connoisseur like little package that I can like sell and give, the word smooth would be part of that. Like you open it up and it's like words to use to sound like you know what you're talking about. Smooth, so let's see. All right, boys.
I get the hint. All right. I'm sorry. Goodness.
But then no one is wrong.
I'm gonna do a highlight reel of the whole season of Apollo going, this one's really smooth. It's really smooth. And it's just gonna be like a 3-minute.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Let me think of what my notes are, but the first thing I'll say is that it's smooth. I'm just gonna do that.
Can't go wrong with smooth, man. Come on.
All right. I'll let you. Yeah. All right, who went first last time, boys?
I think I did, but I can go again. That's fine.
I didn't drink it yet. Sorry.
I guess, yeah, because he hasn't drank it yet.
So I can taste more oak on this one than on the other one. What's the age profile on this?
So this one's also same age range.
Oh, same age,
same mash bill, but it's going to taste completely different.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting that I get. I figured I would, if it was older. That's usually when I get more of the oak or the barrel taste. So I thought this was maybe a little older, but I could taste it more on this one. It's definitely a little sweeter. I prefer sweeter bourbons, as Phil knows. So this one's right up my alley, and I get some like raisin notes in there, some like or plum or some that kind of dark fruit in there.
All right. What about you, Mr. Apollo Reed?
It's funny you said raisin because I wasn't gonna say raisin, but something that Phil said a long time ago that I'm like, that's interesting that would be the first thing that you would think of. But I got like a raisinette kind of taste, and that's kind of like the first thing that I picked up. And dang, there was something else. Now I gotta pour more. Sorry.
All right. So while you do that,
Exactly. Always go back for more.
For me, I really like this. This is actually the first time I've tasted Crossroads. I really like this one because it's a good balance of like spicy with sweet. Like it's a really good blend of the two. So I definitely get like those baking spices that you normally get in like a rye. So I get the baking spices there. I don't know if it's like hazelnut or butterscotch, but it's like one of those two are in there. That's where I feel like I'm getting the sweetness from. But one of my favorite tasting notes in a whiskey, which I know for some, they like it, some don't. And people are like, how do you even know that? Like, what does it taste like? And I'm like, no, it's not what it tastes like. It's like what it smells like, that taste. So I get leather notes on this for sure, like, which is one of my favorite things in a whiskey. Like if you give me a little bit of sweetness, but it's like packed with leather notes, you have a fan out of me, And so I definitely get the leather notes on that. And so I think this is a great pour.
I've never tasted leather before. That's interesting.
You haven't lived.
That's what I just said, bro. What does leather smell like, bro?
Well, it's what type of leather, because some of it's like wet saddle leather that's dried. It's like, what? How do you know what that is? Like, come on.
Yes, this is not wet saddle. I've never grew up on a farm. I don't know what wet saddle leather smells like. This to me is like I've been around a lot of craftsmen as they make leather wallets. Yep. Like the smell of that is good leather. Kind of the taste that I get, like real craft leather. That's the smell. Like when you, it's weird to think that a smell can transfer to a taste, but it can. Like try to eat something in a restaurant where people are like making leather goods. You're gonna taste the leather in that thing that you're eating because of the fragrance that's there. Yep. So that's the similarity. You'll never come to my house, Apollo, and I'm just like chewing on a wallet or anything like that.
Man, I was gonna. Hey, listen, I didn't know. Some people have different childhoods. You never know.
This ain't that kind of OnlyFans kind of channel, bro. All right?
Please no.
All right. What were you saying now?
On my third sip, I got some of the baking spices, those notes as well. I had a question: is Crossroads readily available? Like, or is this a shelfer?
Yeah, this is around and out and about. We are kind of transitioning to a new label as well. So we'll be transitioning to a blue. It's called Blue Note Toasted. It'll be the same juice profile, just more in line with the general industry. So we'll be changing that up in the next couple of months. But yeah, for the time being, the Crossroads out on the shelf in your like local stores and everything.
So you consider this a toasted?
Yeah, we use toasted French oak staves for the finish.
Oh, okay. No wonder it's yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right, love it.
This is awesome. Yeah,
that's a good one, boys. That's a good one.
I will be adding both of these to my bar for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Hit up.
And I did not say smooth. I didn't say smooth this time.
Yeah, these are incredible.
Oh, I love it. All right, cool. So we're going to go into the next portion. All right. We talked about that Thunder game. At the end of the day, that one was winnable. Alex Caruso is freaking Alex Caruso. I swear, man, that's one guy that I wish would have been a Knick. Like, I really, really do. He would have been perfect in orange and blue. But it is what it is. So we're going to go into the next segment, and we're going to talk about that Houston Rockets game. But first, there is a content creator that I found on Instagram. Really, really dope dude. Just kind heart. Loves the game of basketball, loves our Knicks, and he's just getting started in like the content game. He's rocking with the Instagram and stuff like that. And I had reached out to him and was like, just trying to encourage him in what he was doing. And I always got opportunities when I first started. My brother had a channel when they wanted a Knicks show. He was like, you need to do this with me. No one loves the Knicks more than you do. And there's just been opportunity after opportunity since then. And so I've always wanted our shows to be a platform for new voices to be able to talk Knicks. Like, that's always been the case. Like Ebony from KOT, the first time she got off of Twitter and onto a camera was our old show. And now she's one of the dopest female voices in all of Knicks Twitter. She always was. She just wasn't in front of the camera. And so when I saw Tony Tone doing his thing on Instagram, I was like, yo, bro, you need to come up and talk Knicks. And he's like, well, I've never done that in front of a camera. I was like, I don't really care. Like, you can even come up and suck. I don't care. I want you to come and get your start, to be able to talk so that you can transition into doing this in another platform. So we're going to bring my guy, Tony Tone, up to talk about this Thunder game, get his opinion on what these Knicks are looking like. So without further ado, I want y'all to all give a round of applause for my guy and new friend in the content game, Tony Tone.
Hey guys.
How you doing
today?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Doing excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out this audio here to get it a little louder, but I think I'm doing all right.
Good.
But I appreciate that.
Sound good.
So
awesome,
if you want, are you on a phone?
Yeah, I'm on a mobile.
If you turn your rotation this way, it'll have you locked in like everybody else on the panel so we can see you a little more.
Thank you. One moment.
And if your phone is locked, you got to unlock it. So many people are like trying to do it, and I'm like, phone locked, ain't it? All right.
Should have got Tony some whiskey. He's missing out.
Where you at, Tone?
There you go.
Right. You're looking out.
Where you stay, Tony?
Yes, I'm based in New Jersey.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Yep, based in New Jersey. But from New York. So born and raised from the Forgotten Borough, Staten Island, and I moved out here to Jersey probably 4 years ago now. So it's been treating me good, but have been a Knicks fan through and through.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So shout out to Staten Island. Shout out to the Wu-Tang Clan. All right. Nothing but love for that borough, as you can see right there. All right. Nothing but love. All right. So, Tone, I'll go with you first. All right.
Yeah.
Since you're coming up here. So we've had this crazy stretch. All right. Some ups, some downs. However, we play the 6th seed in the West, and we struggled bad. All right. And so when people say, oh, you're just concerned on 3-game losing streak. I'm like, no, I'm not concerned on a 3-game losing streak. My concerns come from in those 3 games, we played some of the better teams than we've played in a while. And these are the teams that we're going to see at this caliber in the playoffs. Like, we are going to see these kind of teams in the playoffs. And especially if we were to make it to the finals. This is the team that's the 6th best team in the West. And yet we still had our hands full. So we lost that game 111-94. And it kind of felt like we were always just on a rat reel, just trying to catch up. And the cheese was just always way too far for us to ever get there. So what was your thoughts watching that game? Did you see any things that were concerning? Did you see anything that you're like, at least this happened? What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think my biggest concern with that game in particular, and a trend I see with the Knicks, is playing down to the competition. So every single time we have teams that may not be relevant on the scouting report. So there are a number of guys that the whole starting lineup is out. However, the bench players are coming in and they're doing the Knicks like they're a starting unit. On top of the fact that the scouting report on the Knicks is out about shooting threes. These threes that it could be a trash team, it could be a great team, it could be a mediocre team. They're all just walking down and shooting threes. And for some reason, and this is so confusing to me, and I'm interested to know what you guys think about it, why can't we defend the 3-point line at all? I mean, I just don't understand putting pressure on a 3-point line.
Yeah, and that's been our kryptonite for a long time. And that's been my question since last season, is this is the modern NBA. This is the modern NBA where teams shoot more than half of their shots in a game from the 3-point line. Why is Mikal always having to run out? Why is OG always running out a step behind? We even saw that last night against Memphis, which is a trash team, yet we're still running out to the 3-point line. Instead of, if we need to run into the paint with the 1 or 2 guys that are going to go into the paint, then fine. But why is it that we're running out to the 3-point line? That's an anomaly. It doesn't make sense. Like, we should be able to, especially with guys like Mikal and OG that are supposed to be the wing stops, we should not be having to run out to guard the 3-point line after the ball's already coming out of their hand. Like, that is something that we see so much, is our guys are jumping as the ball's already released from that man's fingertips. And that should not be the case. So that's unfortunate, because you have a team like the Rockets where everybody can shoot the 3 in some way, shape, or form. Like, you have friggin' Easton, who they were talking about how he's been struggling from 3, and yet all of a sudden against the New York Knicks, he's freaking Steph Curry out there. Why? Because everybody's Steph Curry against the Knicks right now when it comes to the 3-point line. So it's a bit frustrating, but I agree. Did you see anything promising out of that game?
I didn't really see too many promising takeaways personally in that loss. Again, I'm looking at the consistent theme, particularly at this time of the season. So it's something that, we've seen from early on in the season. It's still a consistent theme of not being able to guard the 3. And I don't see them figuring that problem out going into the playoffs. So, and it's going to be exploited very heavily once we get into the playoffs. So, I don't want to be a naysayer. I'm still all Knicks, but I just have my doubts when it comes to their weaknesses.
See, and this is why I liked you off the bat. I was talking to Al earlier, and it seems like there's this new era of Knicks fans that if you critique the team, all they want to do is like Twitter comment you all day. Because to them, the Knicks can do no wrong. Jalen Brunson is, the alpha and the omega of New York. And I don't see it that way. Like, I come from, the same era of Knicks basketball that I'm sure you do. The Patrick and the Starks days, and the Masons and the Oakleys, where everybody was a contributing factor to our team. And with the best of them, and so I'm not going to stop critiquing that if it's something that can take us to where we want to go. Like me, I'm not a fan of this player or that player. I'm a fan of winning the chip before I die, because I'm sick of not, So I agree with everything that you had to say. I'll go to you, Al. What was your thoughts on that game? Rookie mistake.
My bad.
Rookie.
This is another game where the Knicks started off slow yet again. First quarter, we turn around and I look up and we're down 20 points. And remember, this was a team that when we played them the first time, we went down and had to come back from an 18-point deficit in the third or fourth, late in the third quarter to win that game. And it was a horrible loss for Houston. They just let go of the rope and we beat them. A game we shouldn't have won, to be honest. And so understanding that, like, and coming into their home, you should know that they're looking for their get back. And these guys definitely had this game circled and they jumped on us as soon as the game started. The other thing is these guys deploy a super, super, super tall starting five. The smallest guy in their starting five is Amen Thompson at 6'6". And then everyone else is 6'8". I think Tari Eason is 6'8", and then everyone else was like 6'10" or better. 3 guys at 6'10 plus. Like, these guys are huge. So Brunson struggled. That's just how it's gonna. You're not gonna be. It's gonna be hard for you to be efficient against these giants. So the team struggled. I thought this was the second game in a row that OG struggled. He went 2 for 8 from 3. In these games, I'd like to see OG step up and do a little bit more, but OG has been wildly inconsistent the whole season. Another bad game from Mikal as well. And it's like, if these guys are going to be inconsistent and Brunson is having a tough game, it's like, how are we going to win this game, right? Like, if Brunson's having a tough game with these guys like collapsing on them, these giants, Mikal and OG and Cat needs to step it up. And none of those guys really stepped up. I guess Cat had a good game, but OG was bad and Mikal was bad. And so we got smoked, bro. It was not a fun sight to see. I thought this would be a game that we would get up for, considering we were on a 2-game losing streak and the ball tips off and we're down 20 points. It's like, What's going on here, guys? What is going on here?
Apollo, share your thoughts. I'll give mine real quick, and then we'll go into this delicious banger right here.
To me, it's one of those games again where the other team wanted it more. Usually, whenever we play teams that, as you mentioned, have like the wingspan and the length that we don't have, obviously, at multiple positions, especially at the guard position that you can guard Jalen Brunson with. We struggle with those. I think he had 12 points, I think, this game. Yeah, 12 points.
12
on 5 of 14 shooting, and that's not a Jalen Brunson game. Cat shot is the only one that shot more than Brunson. He was 7 for 17. They just struggled. That they wanted it more than we did. And like you said, that just having the wingspan that they have, especially in that starting lineup, it's just hard for Brunson to really get in his spots and to do what he normally gets to do. And then the thing is I got a fill point. I might have stole one of your points. It's 22 assists. You know what I mean? They didn't really swing the ball that much. It was a lot of guys playing hero ball, trying to just figure something out. And they just wanted it more, man. And I think they ended up having like 35 assists or something like that. So it's you're not gonna win a game like that. You're not gonna win a game like that on the road. We typically play bad on the road. That's a running theme for us. So hopefully in the playoffs you end up in situations where you have home court advantage. But it's something that they're gonna have to figure out, and they don't have any time to do it. So
And to your points, at the end of the day, when 2 of your starters in Wingstop get 15 points combined, what are you doing? What are you going to do to actually win that game? When you have guys like freaking Jabari Smith and you have freaking Thompson and you have Tari Eason all having more than you combined. Like, that's an issue. 3 of their starters had more than 2 of our starters combined. That's an issue. Second, so many people get mad at me like they did today on Twitter for talking about Jalen Brunson needing to play more like a facilitator like Kolek and Alvarado did last night, because you see what happens with the other guys and they want to crucify me and say, oh, it's just the Grizzlies, but it's not just the Grizzlies. Look at this game. This game right here shows what happens when a team understands your schemes offensively and they are able to stop it and make it a struggle. Their height is a problem for Jalen Brunson. Like, at the end of the day, no one's going to tell me different, because if you watch that game, there's a reason Jalen Brunson went 5 for 14. He had 12 points, shooting 35% on the night. And the reason is because they made it hard. Not that he was off, but they made it very difficult with him, with their double teams, with their reach, with their strength. Everything that those guys have that we don't in our starting point guard made us suffer. And without finding an alternate way to do it and playing off ball, cut, allowing your guys to cut, finding them, continuing to result back to the thing that's not working is absolute craziness. And so that was an issue for us that game. And if you look, in 11 minutes, 11:40, Alvarado had 12 points and he shot 83.3% from the field. Okay. That's in 11 minutes. Okay. He had that. So he had more than a point per minute. Jalen Brunson had 37 minutes and 12 points that game. Why? Because they know Jalen Brunson's schemes and they stopped him. Okay, so we have to go, okay, this isn't working. Let's get the ball moving. Instead of, it's not working, I'm going to keep trying it. That doesn't make sense to me. So the ball movement has to be there, because this was a huge, huge issue. At the end of the day, it's not people are like, oh, Houston's on the West. Yeah, but what if we get Atlanta? Atlanta's got the same situation of tall, athletic, and very great defensive players that can lock down Jalen Brunson. Why? Because they think it's predictable. They've seen it. But if Jalen Brunson plays off ball, that allows him to be the clutch scorer that he is, but also the teams have to worry about him being willing to dish it because the ball's constantly moving for the Knicks. And other guys thrive. Mikal Bridges, 7 points that game, OG 8. What happened last night when there was focused on facilitating and dishing? Both of those guys scored elite numbers. There's a huge difference. So we're going to go into the next pour before we talk about the next game. Shout out right here to Body Crisis. He said, you're coming through to show some love. What's good, fellas? What's good, Al? Is this your homie that's part of
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy.
All right, what up? Hey, bro, if you want to come on up, you want to talk some Knicks talk, open panel all night. Shout out to Knicks Life Crisis and Al's other show and homie in the chat right there. Appreciate you coming through. But let's talk this next pour, because this one's a banger for me. All right. I am a huge honey cask finish guy, like huge honey cask finish guy. And this one, if you go to my Instagram at That's the Spirit, this actually made my, hey, try this right now, honey cask releases. And so I'll let y'all talk about it. But this is a beauty right here. You see this on the shelf, people. Even if you're like, I don't know if I like whiskey. I don't care. Shut up. Pick it up. All right.
You said we're doing 4 today?
Yeah.
You don't have the fourth one. You don't.
I gotta send it to you because it was one that just got released, and I just got it last week, so I couldn't send it out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
bro.
I think you missed.
No, it's cool. No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
You can just drink two of your favorite ones.
I get it. I said smooth.
I'm not going to name names, but if you point your finger down, that's the guy to blame. He released it too late. All right. I have no control of Blue Note's release schedule, but I know someone who does. All right, guys, tell me a little bit about this honey cask.
Yep. So this one, it all comes down to balance. A lot of the honey products on the market go for that bourbon profile, and this release in particular that we're drinking tonight is with rye. So you get the spiciness of the rye, but you get that sweetness of the honey that comes through, and at cask strength, it really all just comes together perfectly. And what we do on this one is we fill up the barrels with honey. We let it literally cook in the Memphis heat. We dump the honey out and then fill it again with rye and let it age for another, sometimes upwards of a year before we dump that out and ultimately put it in the bottle.
I love it. So you guys know they also have a bourbon, honey cask bourbon. Are you guys releasing one of those this year? Oh,
right there.
real cool, man. Real cool.
So to be fair, the honey rye is my favorite, man. The sweet and spicy profile you get just goes so well together.
Oh yeah, I love it. But is the bourbon out yet?
No, it's an annual release. We do it once a year, so it'll be out around in like August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
Okay.
kind of like a sneak peek for you guys.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. And are you guys releasing a 17 this year?
Oof.
There might be.
Okay.
I have a surprise for Dan. There might be.
All right.
That's a nice
All right.
surprise.
That's awesome. Good to know. Good to know. We might be calling y'all for another episode. All
The
right.
year's still early, so there's room on the calendar.
Awesome. All right. So let's give this one a go, guys. This is a beauty. I love the color on this one.
And the mouthfeel in particular on this one is really just awesome.
Gosh, that is so freaking good.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm not gonna act like this is the first time I tasted this. I've already opened this, and this is one of my favorite ones. Actually, I make a lot of my mixed drinks with this, but it's I always thought of Honey Nut Cheerios. Like I always got Honey Nut Cheerios that kind of tasted with it. Like because you kind of get like an oat kind of taste, and then still you get the honey at the same time. But it really gives me like a honey nut Cheerios kind of taste. But I love it. It's the only one out of them that I opened already. I tried to save it, but I like honey a lot.
No, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. What are your thoughts, Al?
This one is definitely a little bit more viscous than the others. I really like that. You get the honey up front. Then you get the spice kicking in. It's this one is a lot spicier than the other two. Like there's a heavy spice on this one. I don't know if that's just because it was my first sip. I still haven't taken my second sip, but the spice hit me on this one. And then on the finish, I'm tasting the fruit again, like maybe like an apple or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like it.
For
This is
me,
nice.
This is such a good honey pour. Like sometimes it's like some can taste a little artificial.
Yep.
With if they don't take it out of the barrel in time, or if it doesn't heat up enough to like get the flavors to blend with the oak. But this I feel like is just such a perfect balance. With honey casks, you can have some that taste more like honeysuckle and some that like taste like honeycomb. This one to me tastes like straight up honeycomb. But honeycomb on what you were saying, like an apple. So like charcuterie boards are great. And when there's honey and apple on it, that's a pairing that I'll never pass up. Like apples and honey are the perfect pair. And what I love about this though is like, even then when I have like fruit and honey in some honey pairings, it just is a little too sweet for like a all the time thing, and it's more of a dessert pour. But with this one, what I love about it is you were talking about like tastes a little spicy. It's not so much spicy like rye spice,
Right.
but to me it's like clove, and I love the taste of clove in a whiskey. So I love that it's got the rye spice, the clove, the apple, the honey. This to me is absolute perfection in a glass.
On my second sip, it wasn't as spicy, so it felt a lot more balanced. So it struck a real nice balance on the second sip. It's usually how it goes.
You also jumped up a good amount in proof too. I think this year's what 116, 117.
Yeah,
wow.
116.49. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that helps to kind of marry with the honey, so the honey's not overpowering the rye, right? Like, I think that like plays a lot into the profile.
Yeah. And what I think so cool about this one is I'm a rye drinker, but there's some people that aren't rye drinkers.
Yep.
But I feel like this could be a good transition, like you get the sweet things that you love about bourbon, but then you get the rye spice to introduce to them. And then over time, introduce them to more ryes. So I think this is like a perfect, like, I guess like entryway to like getting into drinking rye.
Well, it's great because you have that rye single barrel that you see how it stands alone at that. And it's really cool to compare those side by side to see where the honey influence comes in.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
and I'm not typically a Rye fan myself, and this is, like I said, is one of my favorite ones. I've already cracked it, and I've been taking my sips already. So
that's awesome.
I'm
Cool,
a
cool.
fan.
All right, so more basketball before we go to this bad boy. I'll get you a pour, Apollo. I promise. Like I said, I didn't have it till right now. This junk just came out. This is like
I'm
this
just
is that
busting your
new
chops,
one.
man.
All right, this is that Funk Master Flex like just dropped. You know, like the. Like, that's what this is. All right. So we're gonna go into last night's game. All right. So many people are writing it off just because we played a G League roster. But how many times have we seen a G League roster cook us, even with Jalen Brunson?
Word.
Like, look at that freaking Warriors game. No one wants to talk about the Warriors game. The fact that like every single player on that team was either on injured reserve or they were on some kind of vacation with their wife or something because none of them showed up. There was no Green, there was no Steph, there was not even Seth, you know, like there was nobody when it came to the Warriors game. And yet we had nothing but problems in that game. And we had Jalen Brunson. So for all those people that want to write off last night's win because it was the Grizzlies, tell me how that makes sense if you're going to then talk about the Warriors game and not act like it was an issue that our captain barely helped us get past the Warriors. So what are your guys' thoughts on last night's game? What did you see that was a positive, and what did you see that was a concern? I'll go with you first, Apollo Reed.
Rookie move.
Have you done this before? Have you done this before?
Man, that's
Nah, never.
That's two
First
in one
time.
show. Not good.
First time.
Making those mistakes tonight.
Right. First time.
Put down the honey bottle, buddy. Put down
Listen,
the honey bottle.
I had to balance out from Al doing it, so this way we can, listen, I took one for the team too, bro.
I appreciate you.
It's called an assist. Good job.
It was one of those games where it's Jalen Brunson didn't play, so these guys, of course, are gonna pass the ball more. Like this is, you take Jalen Brunson out of the equation, the ball's gonna move. I think it's similar to when any other star who is not necessarily known to pass the ball, like a Kyrie, a Kobe, when they're not there, the ball's gonna move. And that's kind of what you get to see. And last night it was good. We still had some of those moments where guys they allowed them to come back. I think it was like a 4-point game at some point after being up. And these are things that even without Brunson, we're still experiencing. So I'm trying to wonder, what is it? Like, what is causing them to go up by big amounts and then just letting a team come back? And why this is a thing that is pretty consistent. There's been a bunch of teams we've played that we should be, like you said, you mentioned the Nets game earlier. That shouldn't have been a game for us. You should have been able to rest your stars in the fourth quarter in that kind of game. But these guys just, I don't know what it is. They allow these teams, and I also think it's a lot to do with them knowing the scheme of, listen, just shoot threes, because a lot of these guys were out there taking threes and just like they didn't care who was in front of them. But it was one of those games where they should have won and they won the game. But I liked to see how much the ball moved. It's a good brand of basketball. I also think there had to be some sort of conversation after the 3-game loss. I think there was some kind of conversation had, because you could even hear Mikal say, I think he said the ball has to continue to move, and something Mikal always throws these.
I'm gonna share that in a second.
Yeah, he always throws these gems out there and certain things, and it's like, what did he really mean by that? And you never really know exactly what he means, but he says it for a reason. And he does it every year. He did it last year with Tibbs, and he was like, I want these guys to play on the bench. Like, that was something that he spoke out about, and that became a theme. So, it's something that I'm keeping my eye on. Hopefully, it's not a chemistry issue, because you're seeing Cat not even ask for the ball, and that's been my frustration with Cat is, as talented as you are, I need to hear you calling for the ball. Like, yo, give me the rock. I got Alex Caruso on me. You know what I mean? I'm 7 foot tall. I truly don't understand what goes on sometimes. So, it's one of those games that you should have won, especially without Brunson. But I still didn't like the fact that at some point they made it a game for us, and they're still too good for that to be happening.
Yeah. All right, Al, go for it, and then I'm gonna throw it to Tone before.
I was gonna say, I want to hear what I kind of want to hear what Tony has to say.
All right, let's go, Tony. Tone, it's on you, bro.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, absolutely. I agree literally with everything you had just said just now previously, and particularly in the fact that I posted on my page yesterday, the Knicks look free. The way the ball was zipping around, moving around. And again, to your point, yes, the ball has to move around without Jalen Brunson, because how are you going to create the offense, right? So absolutely, that's very important. But why doesn't Jalen Brunson get that message as well? Like, he sees that going on when he's out of the game. I'm not sure why that doesn't register when he gets back into the game or when he's playing those games. Let me keep the consistency of moving the ball around so that my guys can score. We can go get involved in the game, and we can impact the way we should, particularly when you're playing a team like we played last night and those lesser teams below 500, etc.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. To your point, why shouldn't that movement happen even when Brunson's there? Like when you talk about, well, the movement only happened because we played a G League team. Where was that movement against the Warriors? Like, that's my whole thing, is you can't pick and choose which games you're going to apply that to just so that you protect your favorite player. Like, at the end of the day, I'm wearing a freaking Brunson shirt. I have Brunson Funko Pop chilling on my freaking desk. That does not make him infallible. Like, that just means that as my favorite player, I'm going to hold him to a higher standard because he is our MVP, because he is our all-star, because he is our all-NBA. I'm going to want more from him because the ceiling starts and ends with him. So if we need something changed, it has to come from the captain. That's what you've seen in every single freaking sport movie since you were 6 years old. Why should it not be real now? The captain is where things change. So I appreciate you, Tone. That was a great take. All right, Al, what are your thoughts?
A lot of the pushback that we've gotten on Twitter about the Jalen Brunson criticism has been, those guys don't play like that when Jalen is in the game. That's on them. Like, why don't they just play with the same aggressiveness? And I'll cut him a little bait on that. I would love for there to be cameras and watch Jalen Brunson walk into the locker room and ask those guys, why don't y'all play like that when I'm on the floor with you? And I would love to hear the responses that he gets from his teammates, because that could solve everything, right? They might tell him to his face, like, yo, it's you. Like, this is what you're doing. He probably doesn't notice it. I don't know. I'm sure Coach has told him, but Coach also wants to play fast, and Brunson doesn't play fast. So it's like, is he listening to Coach? He has his dad as one of the coaches, and I just think that he does sometimes just doesn't even, he kind of tunes them out. So, and he can do whatever he wants. So I think it'd be great for him to ask his teammates why they don't play like that, because I think it's a valid question, and I think it would help him if he doesn't already see what he watched yesterday, because he was on the bench watching that. And I know he saw, like, yo, these guys don't play like this when I'm on the floor. So they need to figure something out and strike a happy medium there.
Yep. So I'll give my take real quick. The frustrating part about last night is we let them get back in the game. At the end of the day, like I've said all the time, whether it's the first quarter or the third quarter or whatever, you got to play 4 freaking quarters of basketball if you want to win. Doesn't matter who it's against. At the end of the day, yes, they may be the bench unit, but they're still NBA players. It's not like you're playing just some random kid at Rucker Park. These are guys that have actually made it into the NBA. They can score. If you're not willing to play defense, they are going to find a way to put the ball in the basket. It's the bottom line. And so we cannot take our foot off the gas no matter who we're playing. We cannot get so comfortable that we think, oh, we have a 16-point lead. This is fun. No, it's not fun. At the end of the day, this is your freaking job. Get us a W. Like, it's fun.
Yeah,
so we can. Yeah, it's not fun. Don't have fun. Don't have fun until you freaking get a banner lowered at Madison Square Garden. Like until there's a flag in the rafters, do not have fun. Like stop all fun. Like let James Harden have all the fun. He's not going anywhere in his career, you know.
Please.
Like, but us, we're trying to win a chip. No fun allowed. All right.
You said chip, and that's something I wrote down. I feel like Jalen still has a chip on his shoulder from like never being drafted in the in the first round. Like he still plays like he has something to prove.
Yeah. At some point, you have to stop feeling like you have to prove yourself, and you just have to do what you do well and improve where you need improvement. Like improving your own game is not going to get you a chip. It might get you personal accolades. It might get you all NBA. It might get you, the Knicks leading scorer of all time. But what does that matter? Because none of us are really going to celebrate you in 10 years if you're the NBA leading scorer, but you brought nothing to the freaking Garden. At the end of the day, all we want is you to bring something to the Garden. So I'm going to give my take at the same time as I give my, run that back. All right? So this is my run that back segment. And I'm going to share my screen real quick because it was a fun day in these Twitter streets for your boy Phil. All right? So this was my post right here. All right? And it was fun because sometimes I like trolling these Twitter peeps because they don't really know what they're talking about. So I said, Cat, McHale, OG, and Alvarado all looked great tonight. So hard to say this, but we will only win in the playoffs if JB plays more like Alvarado and Kolek did tonight. Weird to even type it, but it's true. So you would think that I said, hey, cue up the trade machine. I hate this cat. Get him out of New York. Because all of a sudden, all these Brunsonites, all right, all up in my feet. Look at this. Like all of them. Look what I had to do. I had to bring out the Chris Tucker. Tell these people to move it along. Like y'all crazy. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Like all these people. All right. You had a few people like be like Stockton. Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about. Some people don't even get a comment. I don't want to engage with you. You crazy. But some of these people were just straight wilding out. All right. So that's that one. All right. But now I just made another post because it's fun, to poke at these people. All right, look at this. This is crazy. Christian Hooper, you crazy. Whoever you are. All right,
you crazy.
I'm gonna put it on national team. Drew Wop, you crazy. Draco, you nuts. Stop watching basketball. You don't know what you're talking about. Shout out to my guy State. He actually sounded sane today. Harlem World, shout out to you. TC, my guy, shout out to you. Volume 2, you nuts. Get out of here. You crazy. Leonardo, shout out to you. Who's this guy? This guy's you when you got depressed in your name, I don't want to hear your takes. Like crazy. Like
I'm good. I'm good.
Like crazy. Don't Alex B, come on, bro. You've had so many bad takes in your whole life.
Alex
like,
B is
like you're crazy. DP, you nuts. You a super fan. Get out of here. All right. Nate, you know nothing. All right. Anyway, so I had to make this post right here. Shout out to my guy, JMNYC. He knows what I'm talking about. But this is the quote that you were talking about, Apollo. And I want to bring this up because all of a sudden, Mikal Bridges saying the exact same thing I said, and no one got nothing to say to Mikal Bridges. Why? Because
what did he say? I can't read it.
Oh, let me make it bigger because you got to read it. All right. And there's a picture of JB, too, with Mikal next to him. It makes it so much better. I love it. All right. So let's go. He said, we got a lot of talent. We just got to share the ball, play off of each other, try to make right reads, learning. We know JB is really skilled. He straight up called out JB. I don't feel like as a player, knowing how great a talent he is, every time that he has to give it up. I don't believe that. His skills are undeniable. But I think our offense and trusting that everybody can make plays and don't have to make it too stagnant for one person.
Oh, wow.
Makes it easier for the other teams to guard us.
Shots fired.
Oh, man. I was like a pig in poop when he released that. Because that's exactly what I said, that all these non-basketball heads had nothing but stupidity comments for me today. Now you got the guy on his team, his best friend, his Villanova teammate, saying we don't need to play one guy stagnant basketball. So all y'all in the chat that got an issue with me, I don't care. All right. Mikal Bridges just proved my point. What we saw last night from Alvarado and Kolick, our captain, a real captain, looks at his team and says, what can I still learn? What you can still learn is that your best friend, Mikal Bridges, that has been struggling all season under your leadership, had his first 15-point plus game in the last 15 or so games. All right. Had 24 points, shot 60%, was confident. All right. Also, Karl Anthony Towns, he went and had 20 points, had 11 rebounds and 11 assists. OG Anunoby, who's been struggling under your leadership, had 25 points. Your guy Josh Hart had 6 assists. All right. Tyler Kolick came in and had 7 assists in 19 minutes. Jose Alvarado had 4 assists, but also was doing nonstop movement for his guys and got 15
playing
points.
fast. Playing fast too.
Playing fast. Huck Porty came in for 11 minutes and had 7 points and 3 assists. Everybody was looking out for one another last night. We had, you want to hear this? 36 assists. 36 assists. And all of our guys thrived. So if you have a problem with my take it up with Mikal Bridges, because my Twitter has no more time for you on my feed. Because
we gotta at least tell Dan and Logan about Knicks Twitter. Guys, Knicks Twitter is like the most toxic place on planet Earth. Knicks fans just in there.
He's not exaggerating.
Knicks fans in there just ripping at each other all day long. It is hilarious.
Wow.
Like, honestly, I don't know if 95% of Knicks Twitter has jobs, like, at all. Okay,
Very active.
Very active.
I'll get done like editing a video or editing photos, and like I couldn't be on Twitter for like 25-30 minutes, and all of a sudden I get all these notifications. I got like 30. Yeah, of course you don't want to comment back. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's been 30 minutes, bro. Like, why do I have 6 messages from you in my feed? Like, you need a life and a job, like, or a wife, something. Like, gosh,
Bro, they live for that stuff. That's it.
It's crazy, bro. It's like that's their voice, and they're like, I don't even make content, and you shouldn't either. And I'm like, bro, you got 43 people following you. There's a reason you got 43 Knicks followers, because you ain't got nothing to say. No one cares. Anyway, all right. So
it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's entertaining, right?
I like to sit in the shadows and watch. I don't really get involved too much.
It is fun. I used to be a lot more involved. Now I play, but like every once in a while, you see something, you're like, I gotta say something. You know, like I'm bored right now. I'm bored. I'm bored. You know, it is what it is. So anyway, I was glad to see we won that game. We shouldn't have let it get that close, but I did love seeing these guys all kind of work together, all kind of pour into each other, be there. Landry Shamet looking like he's got some of his shot back, went 5 for 9, 3 for 5 from 3. So that's always great to see someone come back from injury and start feeling like he's part of this team again. So I know Apollo Reed's got to leave. So Apollo, do you got any questions for Logan and Dan before you head off, or anything you want to say?
No. Besides for you getting me a bit of a sample of what I'm not going to get to experience with you guys. Which I'm not gonna blame you for. But any questions? What? Just a random one. What was the short version, of course, because I don't want to hold you guys for too long. What is the short version of the start of Blue Note and how it came about?
Short version was we focused on everything other than Blue Note itself, really learned the industry, and then got into the brand side of the business late 2018, really taking the best of everything from the expert distillation of Kentucky, like Dan said, the aging environment in Memphis, access to the purest water on earth that we have here, tying that all into the Memphis music, the Memphis vibes, the authenticity, great grind mentality that sometimes is our Grizzlies, and really putting that into everything we're doing in this cutthroat business of going up against true behemoths. That's the nitty gritty version of Blue
Right.
Note.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Great.
I love it.
Appreciate that.
I love it. All right, Apollo, let everyone know where they can find you and support you. I know you got work early in the morning, so I'm gonna let you do what you gotta do. But let people know where they can rock with you.
Guard Up Knicks everywhere, man. Guard Up Knicks, literally spelled as it sounds. Guard Up Knicks. And yeah, man, just hit me up or just check me out. Come follow me, subscribe, whatever, wherever. And yeah, man, just regular guy, just talking about Knicks. That's it.
All right, so we got 6 games left, right? 6 games. What do you think we go? I'll let you close with that.
6 games.
I'll let you know. We got Chicago.
It's 5 games. 5 games.
Oh yeah, 5 now because we played Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's Chicago, Boston, Charlotte,
Atlanta. You forgot Atlanta.
Man,
Atlanta
and Toronto. These are outside of the Bulls.
They're all tough.
Which the Bulls are dealing with their own Jaden Ivey situation. We're not going to speak on right now.
Shout out to my guy Jaden.
Yeah. That's a different conversation.
Different convo, but shout out to Jaden.
Yeah, shout out to Jaden. Who's standing 10 toes on in his beliefs. So shout out to him.
Yes, sir.
Hawks. It's one of those that you spoke about them earlier. One of those teams with length that Jalen struggles with. Boston, they are starting to catch fire with Jason Tatum. He had like a 20.
That's in the Garden though. That one's home.
But didn't he just have like a triple double with like 20 something, 18 and 11 last night or something like that?
That was crazy. Yeah,
that was nuts.
Dude,
Yeah,
man. So I mean, we don't have it easy. The Raptors are still trying to fight for seeding. So that's not going to be an easy game. And then Charlotte, we already saw what Charlotte did, but we played them at home. I think we can get this game, especially because we played them before and we kind of got embarrassed. I think this is one of those games where it's the end of the season, last game. They're going to try to, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But 5 games. I don't know if I should be a fan right now, if I should be a realist, but I'm gonna try to blend them. I'll say 3-2, man. I'll say 3-2.
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give mine a little bit later, and I'll have Tone gives his too. Appreciate you, Apollo. Get some rest. Enjoy work tomorrow, and I'll get the sample out to you soon.
Yo, take care, Apollo.
Peace, man.
Thanks, Paul, man. Nice meeting you.
Nate, nice meeting you. Logan and Dan, you guys have a good one, man. Thanks for this wonderful stuff that you guys got me here.
Enjoy the honey, man.
Yeah, I will continue. Have a good one.
All right, so before we go into this next pour, I do got a question for you, Logan and Dan. Why I know you guys said that was a time, where the juke joint single barrels were so readily available. Where was it intentional for that to be no longer like a big thing, for the juke joint picks to be available?
It really wasn't an intentional or unintentional thing. It was just the market at the time. It was single barrels were in relatively low supply from brands, and we had a lot of single barrels and a price point that was able to go to market. And it went to market, I would say, far more aggressively than was wise, because it literally landed everywhere. And it was every single store on every single corner had a single barrel at one point. And then you got into pandemic, and the backside of the pandemic, things really changed pretty dramatically from stores wanting to put cash into single barrel inventory and having that rotate. So it's just more market dynamics as opposed to intentional or unintentional moves from us.
Gotcha. So do you think we'll see more of those juke joint single barrels and some of these rye single barrels?
Dan?
Yeah, so for the uncut, at least, so what we started doing is we have micro blends we put into the markets. So just make it more readily available for the stores, so they don't have to buy a full single barrel. They're micro blends anywhere from like 5 to 10 barrels, so they'll be a little more unique.
Okay.
And then you would still have stores doing picks, like your big whiskey stores and everything. So it's out there. The single barrel rye is a bit of a harder find right now. So that's a bit of a gem you got there. But yeah, work in progress for that one.
All right. Well, when you guys start doing those again, let us know. We're trying next season to get some Knicks Nightcaps releases of our own, and that's one that I would love to get available to our fans and whatnot. That me and Al can probably, and Apollo can get out to Memphis and go pick a barrel with you guys.
That's awesome. That'd be amazing.
So, all right, cool. So let's go into this next one before we talk about the rest of the season so that you guys can get home to your families, because y'all been rocking with us for a hot minute and we appreciate that.
Man, enjoyed it, man. It's all good.
So this right here, this special reserve, I actually behaved. Typically, I crack and don't try it until I try it as soon as I get it. But I decided to behave on this one and wait till right now, so you guys get my unfiltered, appreciation for the bottle. But this one's crazy. This is finished, if I'm correct, in 9 different casks.
Yep,
that's crazy.
That's normal.
That's crazy.
That's insane. I've never heard that.
So
yeah, the first time I did this blend and submitted it for federal government label approval, they were like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I was like, "Yes, it's happened. This is just the label. Like, you get your role here, right?" But no, it was each year try to do one of these just crazy push the outer limits of what bourbon can be while still respecting what bourbon should be as the underlying base. So yeah, you've got 9 different specialty cask finishes, ages from 4 through 19 years, upwards of 3 years of secondary finishing in some of these casks. And while I don't give tasting notes, what I will do on this one is how to actually taste this one.
Okay.
So think about red wine and complexity. That's how this one drinks. And it really is better if you pour it and let it sit for sometimes upwards of half an hour and really let it breathe. And then at that point, each time you come back, drink it, it's going to be a completely different experience. But you really need that time for it to truly open up. It tastes fine if you just neck pour and go straight into drinking it. It's just you don't get anywhere near the experience that ultimately is in that liquid if you don't let it breathe.
All right. So today, obviously, I don't have 30 minutes to do that. But
come on.
But
you got 5 games left. You got plenty of time.
I will do that tomorrow. But I'm reading this right here. So the cognac is 19 years, 3% of it. The Madeira is 2%, 5 years. Sherry, 3%, 12 years. The port, is that port red or port white?
Red.
Okay, port. So the port is 3%, 11 years. The Vino de Naranja is 3%, 11 years. The that's 41%, 7 years. The vanilla cognac is 15%, 5 years. Apricot brandy, 11%, 5 years. Cognac, 12%, 7 years. And then this one, you need to explain this. Winterbach is 10%, 5 years. What the frick's a Winterbach?
Beer? Is that beer?
It's actually a beer. Yes.
Okay. I don't drink beer. Like, I don't drink anything carbonated. So I was like, what the frick is a Winterbach?
All
right.
Yep, it's a beer.
Awesome. All right. So we talked earlier, your Kentucky is Green River or Bardstown. What is the Tennessee distillery in these?
So it's all Diageo produced product. So a lot of people would associate with George Dickel, but there's that polarizing hatred of George Dickel.
Yes.
But what's interesting about it is if you have their distillate that's not chill filtered, it tastes completely different. And there's also various mash bills that have never gone in George Dickel product that also taste dramatically different.
Okay.
So it's from our early days before Blue Note was the focus of the company, we used to store thousands of barrels of this product and we had access to it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I don't know if it's true. So I'm a big fan of Rare Character, and they released TKO whiskeys, and the rumor was that the distillate was from what you're saying, like Dickel. That's not the Dickel that we all hate. The weird picklish like Dickel. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's no way that some of my favorite rare characters could possibly come from my least favorite distillery.
Yep.
And the people were like, yes, it can, because it's not Dickel product. It's not done the same way. It was just produced at Dickel. And so that excites me to taste if it's from that same nectar of gods that, you know, that TKO is. So I love this. And so this released recently, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the proof?
119.9.
Pretty close to 120.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is super interesting. The bottle looks amazing, by the way. It's a beautiful bottle.
All right.
And this is just super interesting. I haven't seen a bottle that has been, or a bourbon that's been finished in 9 different casks. Like, I gotta clap it up for you guys on that one. Holy crap! All right, I'm ready.
People in the company call it my mad scientist experiment.
Seriously.
Yeah, I got people calling it the jungle juice too.
Jungle juice.
Yeah, I was like, I love that. That's great.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's fun about it is if you don't take it too seriously, like, yeah, it's insane. No one's saying this is supposed to be a normal everyday product, but like, can you have fun with bourbon? Yes, you can.
I love the smell on it. Like,
the nose
you can put that in a candle and I'd light it all day.
Shining through, I think is the Naranja cask. I'm getting that on the nose a lot.
Yeah, so some of that will read through like an old fashioned. Some of those floral notes and like that orange profile.
Yeah, I smell the cognac and the Madeira. I get
Tony over here just left out.
Yeah, Tony, would have got you some bottles.
Sorry, Tony. All right, I'm ready to jump in.
You guys are good, man.
Are you a whiskey guy, Tony?
Not so much. Okay. Yeah, I used to indulge in wine, and now I stick to the water. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but it sounds delicious, though.
Wow.
My second favorite drink is water, so we got that in common. All right.
There we go.
Oh, this does not drink like a 120. I gotta use the word. That went down smooth. Oh my God, for a 120.
Yep.
That was awesome. So at the very first notes that I started tasting was the cognac.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quick. It kind of I'd rather have the cognac up front than on. This is just me, my personal palate. So it went and it finished, and then I got the apricot brandy towards the finish. A lot of the burnt sugars, the sweet caramels, the traditional bourbon kind of taste in the mid palate, and then it just went down really smooth. And I got the apricot brandy towards the end. I thought it was awesome. Oh, incredible, incredible! 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to wait a little bit. You'll get a totally different profile again in like 10 minutes.
I meant to tell you, mine's been sitting for at least like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, so I love this. Like, it's definitely got not like an oak, but like a cedar, kind of wood vibe to it. So I really like that.
And that's what you're getting from so many of these secondary casks is you're going outside of American white oaks, you're getting into French oaks and different wood profiles, plus the liqueurs or beer. All of that comes through and adds its own element, not just the spirit itself.
Yeah.
Were you looking for something in particular from the Bach cask?
So what's interesting is there were 80 barrels tasted that were in the running to go into this blend. Ultimately, I came down to 4 different blends, and I was really pretty happy with it, but there was a little bit missing. And we've had these winter Bach casks sitting around for about a year and a half, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with them, and started to add it in. I was like, okay, I really like some of the complexity, but what's interesting is some of the complexity it adds is it's a peanut type of flavor, and it adds just a little bit of that. into it that I felt like it was missing, and it really just changed the complexity of the overall experience.
You know what's so crazy is I was getting peanut, but I had no clue where the nuttiness came from, because I was like, all of these casks that you guys finish in, like, I love port, but port has nothing nutty in it, you know? So, like, being that I don't know what the frick Winterbach tastes like, that completely makes sense, because I was like, where is the nutty nut like coming from? Because none of these make sense, but now that does.
Well, and like that peanut profile was not there a year ago.
Okay.
And it's just as that's continued to age, that has smoothed out so much that it became really viable for this blend.
Wow.
But prior to this one, we would never have used it.
No, I love it. Like, you know, like Al was saying, I get that apricot for sure, you know, and for me, I love apricot brandy. You know, I like brandy in general. You know, I love an old fashioned, you know, with some apricot brandy. It brings out different kind of flavors. But what I love about the apricot brandy is that it's not like a vanilla ice cream type vanilla, but it's like a smooth, like French vanilla. You know, like there's a difference, like regular store-bought vanilla ice cream. You're just like, yeah, this is all preservatives. Like I can taste the preservatives. But like French vanilla, you're like, this is pure vanilla. Like this is really, really good. There's like vanilla extract that you would add to your, you know, like baking desserts and stuff like that. And so that's the kind of vanilla that I get with this pour, and it blends so well with that peanut. And I think without the peanut, it might actually taste a little too sweet. And so I think you guys adding that Winterbach was absolute genius. Like it actually gives it that salty, sweet vibe that some of my favorite like treats come with. Like I love a salted chocolate chunk cookie, you know, like so much more than I just love a chocolate chip cookie, because that balance of salty and sweet is like perfect for my palate. And so I feel like that's what that Winterbach, since now I know what that peanut is, does to this pour. This is absolutely delicious.
Yeah, this is amazing. Oh my God. I need one of these. I got to get one of these. I got to figure out where to get one. So this is going to be in Florida, Tampa area?
So hopefully in the next month or so, it should be
okay.
The Florida
we only made about 300
cases
cases for the country, so it's like very limited.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, our online sold out before the release even happened.
No,
that's crazy. That's crazy. So I want to give a shout out real quick to Aaron Brost, who is part of the marketing company that Blue Note is under. He's the one that actually orchestrated this whole thing. So I wanted to make sure that I shouted him out, because he put in the groundwork to make sure that we could have you guys on the show. So shout out to him. He was the one that was like, I sent 3 bottles, but I think they're going to release the 4th one before the episode. And he made sure to make sure that this bottle was here in time for the episode. So he put in a lot of hard work. So shout out to him.
And today was my first time ever having Blue Note. And guys, I am a fan. To everyone that's watching, if you see Blue Note out there, buy it. And I love that it's inexpensive. I am definitely getting all of the pours that I've had today. If I can find them, I'm getting them and I'm putting them in my bar. They're all amazing.
Really appreciate it.
Big fan here now.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's great meeting you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. So, guys, before you guys head off, what can our like viewers be looking like forward to in the next year or so? How can we support you guys?
So we've got some fun releases. Some of our limited time offerings, some of them are seasonal. So we're in the middle of launching our 101 proof weeded currently. There'll be some single barrels of that at cast strength available around our markets as well. And then as we get into more of the summer months, that really July, August, September is when you're going to see our annual release of the honey products of both the bourbon and the rye. And then we might have some other specialty items to drop in as you head into O&D, or some other surprises along the way as well.
The weededs have become a big category now. Everyone's coming out with their version of their weeded.
It is, and what I really like about ours is that the 101 proof, it really stands up, I think, at sort of the perfect presentation for wheat because of the softness. But what people are usually looking for that 101 for our mash build was just spot on. So I think everyone's really going to enjoy this one.
I love it. And this is your guys' first weeded release, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I just released a video, like, because there's so many people that like hunt Antique 107. And I love Antique 107. But what's great about Antique 107 is what's great at $60 to $70. You know, when you start going into $120, Antique 107 is not Antique 107 worthy of spending $120. So for me, I'm always trying to like educate people on like, hey, there's life after Weller. You know, like there are other reasons are worth supporting. So I can't wait to try that one. I know if it's anything like what you guys have released previously, it's going to be absolutely incredible. So I appreciate you guys. I just posted the link for all of you guys to go to their website, pick up a Blue Note bottle, follow them on Instagram. And we definitely got to do this again. I appreciate you guys rocking with us for so long.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And being part of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And we'd absolutely love to have you down in Memphis if you guys want to do some picks or just hang out sometime.
Yeah. Yes. We'll definitely make that happen.
If the Grizzlies ever start to play like a basketball team again.
I don't think that's going to happen before we
we don't need the Grizzlies. We don't need the Grizzlies.
We can always try.
Let's stick to the reality. You guys do good.
Yes.
All right? Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate
have a good night.
Go Knicks.
Great meeting you.
Good night.
Oh, man, that was awesome. Great, guys. All right. So before we go, guys, I want to talk about these next 6 games. Like, realistically, how are we feeling about this? I'll go with you first, Tone. We got 5 games left. How do you feel if we actually, like, play all of our guys, they play all of theirs? Obviously, you know, Boston may get to a point where they're like, hey, you know, let's just sit Tatum and Brown for this one. But let's say they don't. Let's say that they care more about like getting their numbers up before the end of the season. How do you feel we end up this last 5 games?
Yeah. So similar to what the gentleman said earlier, I think I'm gonna go with 2 and 3. I think he said 3 and 2. I think I'm gonna go with 2 and 3. So you know, again, not trying to be a naysayer, but I feel that you know, the Knicks picked up their momentum in that last game against Memphis. However, as you said, the Celtics, they may or may not sit their players. But I noticed that it is at the Garden though, so that is a possibility that we get that W. We got the Bulls up next. So most of these games are home games actually. So with only one road game actually, I'm just noticing now. So maybe I retract it. I'll say 3 and 2 because I didn't realize how many home games there were. Not that really makes too much of a difference, you know, on any given night. But you know, I'm going to go with the fact that we have more home games, and I agree with a 3 and 2 record to close out the season.
All right, Al, you agreed with that as well, right?
Yeah, I think most likely it'll be 3 and 2, but I just want to say, like, it's so hard to predict what the Knicks are going to do because you don't know what team's going to show up. And that's been the thing with the season for this Knicks team is like, you don't know which Knicks team is going to show up. If we get the Knicks team that beat the Spurs, like, we can go 4 and 1. I think we're going to struggle with the Atlanta in that Atlanta game. That they're playing really good ball. I think we can beat Boston. Toronto is going to be a tough game because I think we've beat them every game this year, and it's just hard to beat a team 4 times in a season. Or I think this might be our 5th game against them or something weird like that.
Right.
And then I think we'll get up for the Charlotte game unless we're resting folks. You know what I mean? So it depends. Like I would like to still hold out hope for the 2 seed. That's probably a pipe dream now, but. They could do 4 and 1, or they could bottom out, do 2 and 3, and rest guys. So you just don't know. It's tough to call. What do you think? What do you think they're going to do?
So me personally, not being a naysayer, but unless we actually start playing like we did last night, where everybody's involved, I personally think that we go 2 and 3. And the reason I think that is because, and this is if players do not like bench, like if teams don't bench their great players. And I don't think they're going to, because at the end of the day, when you look at the Celtics, the last thing the Celtics want to do is see that the Knicks are winning and bench their players and then fall to third. It's too close for them to bench their players right now.
Same thing with Atlanta, Toronto, and Charlotte. They all still got to play. The standings are too tight.
Right.
Exactly. Like none of them are going to bench their players right now because how close everything is. So especially the Celtics, because they're 2 games behind. And if they start benching their players and the Knicks start winning, they could fall to third. They don't want to fall to third. At the end of the day, they want, like they would rather play the play-in team than play the 76ers, because 76ers are, at that spot right now that we're currently playing them. So I don't see anybody resting their team. So for me, I think we go 2-3. Why? Because I hate to say this, like I really do. And I hope I'm wrong. Like I hope I am wrong. I think Jalen Brunson sees a game like us with Memphis and sees Alvarado and Kolek thrive. And he wants to come in and rewrite the narrative and say, no, we're better when I'm here. Like we're not good without me compared to what we are with me. Especially with a comment like what Mikhail just made. Like either Brunson's going to completely go, man, he's right. I need to do this. Or he's going to stand on 10 toes and say, no, watch us win with me as the number 1. And so, unfortunately, I go more to, based off what I've seen in the past, that he stands 10 toes on being the captain who has to prove something. Like me and my guy Lee Escobedo, who I'm going to bring up in a second, we have said this many times, and people hate us for it. And I don't really give a crap. Like the people that hate me and Lee, I'm like, hate all you want. Me and Lee are enjoying ourselves. Get over it. But they come at us because me and Lee both believe that as much as we love Jalen Brunson still plays with a chip on his shoulder that he has to prove something. For us, he's proven enough. But I don't think Jalen Brunson is content with Jalen Brunson yet. I think Jalen Brunson continues to feel like he has to prove y'all made a mistake drafting me in the 2nd round. Y'all made a mistake saying I'm not the 1A. I'm going to prove that I'm this. And that's why he excludes the rest of the team, because he's still proving himself. And he proves himself most when he plays against teams that have a guard that is their number 1. So if you look at the teams that we're playing, a lot of them, their guards are their number 1. So Jalen Brunson has something to prove to say, I am that best player on the court. And so if he plays that way, I think we go 2-3, unfortunately, in the last 5 games. I think that in the games that we have Chicago, that better be a win or I'm freaking out. Like, goodness gracious. Do not let me like have Good Friday not be good because Jalen Brunson on the team couldn't win. Like I'm rejoicing over my Lord's sacrifice. Do not screw this up. Like goodness gracious. But the Atlanta Hawks, I think it's going to be a problem. The same way that the Rockets were a problem. Like the height is going to be there. The defense is going to be there. Yeah. I think it's going to be a problem. Boston, like I said, Boston doesn't want to fall behind. I think Boston's going to try to put belt to behind in that game. Yeah. I really think that Boston's going to try to end strong. Toronto still wants to prove themselves, but they also want to make sure that they don't slip. Like they want to make sure that they keep that 7th or 8th spot because Orlando is also trying to still, fight to move on up. So it's really close when you look at the play-in. So all of those guys are trying to get their position. So I don't think any of them are going to take off the gloves. I think they're going to fight. And then Charlotte, we saw what happened with us against Charlotte. I think Charlotte is so hungry right now that they want to feast. And feasting in New York is the way that they would love to end their season, like their regular season. They would love to cook in New York. And I know, like, Tone, you pivoted a little bit when it comes to playing in the Garden. But what I know about players is they love to try to make their name in the Garden. Yeah. And for these teams that are trying to prove themselves at the end of the season, they want to prove themselves in the Garden more than anything. So I think we go 2-3, unfortunately, unless Brunson watched this last game and goes, you know what? I think we need to include the rest of my team more. You know what? Mikhail just called me out for everybody to frickin' see. Maybe I should do something because one of my best friends is calling me out publicly. But I don't know if he'll do that. So we'll see.
I think there a point in time last year where Mikhail said something and I feel like the team responded. I would like to think that it seems like when he says stuff, like he doesn't say a lot of things, right? So it seems like when he does say something, the team responds. Those comments were pretty strong and pointed. So I would hope that it garners a positive response from Brunson. I think he knows Brunson, so I don't think he would have said it if he thought it would have garnered a really bad response from him. So I'm hopeful. Like I would hope that it's gonna, result in positive outcomes for us, and we'll see. Because I'm pretty sure Brunson's gonna end up playing in the Chicago.
The only thing I'll say is when he made the comment about Tibbs, there wasn't the close mutual love relationship with Tibbs. And so I don't believe that Tibbs gave him the opportunity to voice himself the way that he was able to to the media. With Jalen Brunson, I think that it would be very odd with how close their relationship is. They do life together,
He's like, yo, why would you say that in the media?
So I don't think that this is the first time Brunson has felt or understood how Mikhail feels about how Jalen Brunson and him and the rest of the team gel. And so that's why I'm maybe he's saying this publicly because it hasn't gone well privately, so he's like, maybe if I say it public, it makes a little bit of a difference.
I can see that.
I think that there's definitely, out of the fact that they spend so much time together off the court, their girlfriends, wives, all those, they do life together. This conversation definitely has had to come up in this season. And I don't know how well it was received by Brunson, or I've had friendships where I've brought something up to somebody and they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then
in one ear out the other.
And I'm like, didn't we talk about this? Didn't we walk through this together? But one of my favorite people in the world when it comes to Knicks Twitter is my guy Lee Escobedo. We have butted heads like a WWE wrestling match before. But at the end of the day, we still respect each other. We still figure out a way to work it out. But more times than not, we're on the same page. But when we're not on the same page, we're straight up WWE style, Royal Rumble brawling. But I want to hear his take on all of this stuff. I'm gonna bring him up before we end the night. This is my guy, Lee.
Yo.
What up, Mr. Latin Assassin?
Glad to be here, man. Tony Tone, my man of faith, a fellow writer, fellow scribe, also a diehard Knicks fan. You're actually one of the pages that I check out when I'm on Facebook. I follow you more on Facebook than I do any other social media platform. But I saw you were on here. I was just going to go to bed because I actually go to bed fairly early. But I saw you were here, and I also been wanting to support my man Al from Harlem in his rookie season with the Knicks Nightcap. Wanted to pop in, just give him flowers as well. I think you've been doing a great job.
Thank you, brother.
Delivery, episode by episode, you're improving. And I love to see it, bro. And until you have a passion and you really have also a care and a brotherhood for Phil Porto, who means a lot to me. So you guys developing a great 1-2 punch along with Dart Up, Apollo, makes me smile, man. It warms my heart.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate the kind words, man, for sure.
Thank you, brother.
I love that you are showing love to Tone because, seriously, I found him on Instagram. And I was like, man, this guy feels like a diamond in the rough. And so I reached out to him and I knew off the bat, straight up, he was like, but I've never been on camera. I was like, I don't really care, bro. Get the frick on the camera. I knew straight out the bat that he would bring something that this Knicks community needed. So I love that you support him as well, because I feel like this is just the start of what Tone's going to do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer continuing.
Tone, we also got a Substack here at the Time Show that I manage. Got a writer named Mikey Murphy, who's a great voice on Twitter. I wanted to extend an invitation to you as also a fellow scribe. If you ever want to have an article published in the Times Substack, you're more than welcome to.
Nice.
If you're on Twitter, just did fill my info. I'll link with you on Twitter, and then we can set something up.
Awesome. Absolutely. I appreciate the connection. Absolutely. We'll be in touch. I'll get the info from Phil. Thank you.
Awesome.
No doubt.
All right, Lee. So what are your thoughts on what you've been hearing, bro?
Well, you're right, Phil. I think you and I have been more in lockstep in our perception of his team, and it's strange. Man, I want to say inconsistencies, but I've heard so many sound arguments about the Knicks not being inconsistent, and I guess strange consistencies, right? Like this pattern that we see where when Jalen Brunson takes over 20 shots to under 20 shots, and how that correlates to Karl-Anthony Towns' confidence, to Mikal Bridges' aggressiveness, to OG Anunoby's consistency, and the compromised lineups that we're forced to play when he has to share the court with Jose Alvarado or Josh Hart in terms of both spacing and defense. To me, my biggest worry in the beginning of the season, thinking about can the Knicks win championship, you know me, Phil, I'm overly optimistic.
Yeah.
I think you and I share that as well. And I went into the season really, really primed that we were going to win this chip. The only concern I had was Karl-Anthony Towns. Can he defend at the 5 and protect the rim and let's be a top 10 defense? Well, wouldn't you know, we are, and he has. So I've been incredibly impressed in that capacity. Now my concern is more Jalen Brunson, not even as a compromised point of attack defender, but on offense. Can he get out of his own way and integrate himself into what we saw last night? Granted, against a G League Grizzlies team, but a team that was capable of switching, a team that was capable of having great transition defense, and a team capable of clawing back against a supposed contender and cutting the lead to 3. So to me, can Brunson come back and at least keep the ball movement, right? Will he get more off ball? Will he stop leading the NBA in dribbles or time on ball? I'm tired of seeing those stats and him either number 1, number 2, or number 3. I need him to be more integrated within the offense and not be afraid to let someone else bring the ball up and initiate that first action. If we don't do that, I think we lose in the finals. I think every team that we have, right, we've beaten in the playoffs already. Cleveland, Detroit, Boston. Now, these are slightly different variations from what we've seen in past postseasons, but knowing that you've beaten the core of each of those teams does something to your psyche, I think. All the basketball I've watched in the last 25 years gives you a certain level of confidence going to a series where you kind of expect that you've taken their best punch and you've survived. I think that will continue. But OKC, San Antonio, and Denver, they're different beasts in the West. And I think all 3 of those teams are more talented than any team we'll face in the East.
I'll ask you this. I agree. We've beaten some of these teams, but we've struggled really hard with Detroit. We've struggled with how Detroit plays us, but also with Boston, it wasn't with Tatum. And I do think that the fact that they have played so well without Tatum and now they have Tatum, I think that also brings a different aspect to us versus them. Because yes, we've been able to go toe to toe with them, but that was without Tatum. I think with Tatum brings a new factor to it. So what are your thoughts with us and those 2 teams specifically? Like Celtics and with Tatum now, and Detroit if Cade comes back fully healthy?
Well, with Boston, we were already up on that series, and I think it looked pretty evident we were going to beat them before Tatum went down. So they've never been fearful from that point on for me. I would also say that this team they have currently in the current rotation they're running is far less experienced in the playoffs than what Kristaps Porzingis and especially Jrue Holiday brought for them as a starting 1 and 5, not to mention Luke Cornett as well, which was a huge loss for their front court. Now they have an even weaker defender at the 5 than we do, in Nikola Vucevic, who's currently nursing an injury. When he comes back, he's probably the worst defensive 5 in the entire NBA. You add that to a very inexperienced rotation, Nicholas Kukita and Jordan Walsh. To me, I look at those rotation pieces, and I'm not totally in fear of that. I think they lost some of their shooting. They lost some of their mid-range and certainly lost some on-ball creation that you really need when either Tatum's having an off night or Brown is getting clamped by OG Anunoby in the last minute or 2 of the game. So overall, Boston doesn't scare me to think they're a lesser team. than they were last year. Now, I think their ceiling has raised for the future because they got younger, and Kristaps Porzingis, I think, is very inconsistent in terms of his health. But overall, no, I'm not worried about Boston. Detroit's more of a matchup issue, not a talent issue. I don't think we match up well against them this season. But again, we took their best hit last year in 6 games, and Jalen Brunson knows how to eliminate them on his own one-on-one in that crossover pull-up 3 that he had over Sir Thompson. So, they got some extra shooting with Duncan Robinson, but they lost shooting in Malik Beasley. And they got some good on-ball creation with Karis LeVert, but they lost some in Tim Hardaway Jr. They lost a very good clutch performer in Dennis Schroeder, who now plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we don't really have that backup point guard role when they trade. And I'm sure we're not going to get into that conversation right now. I thought trading him lowered their ceiling. He was someone who could actually attack, when healthy, granted, create his own shot on ball. Kevin Huerter could not do that. Kevin Huerter is primarily dribble handoff, catch and shoot, coming off of a curl, being able to pull up and hit a jumper. But he's not someone who's going to beat you and drop, but he's creating his own shot and generating his own gravity. So I think their ceiling's lower, but their floor is higher. But their defense is elite. But hey, man, the Knicks know how to beat JB Bickerstaff. We've done it twice in the playoffs already.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about that is, like, I look at both teams and I go, man, Jaylen Brown is better this year than he was last year. Like, yes, they lost, certain players, but Jaylen Brown is a better player, averaging at least 6.5 points more this year, 2-point-something rebounds more this year, more assists this year, better field goal percentage, all of that stuff. Like, Jaylen Brown has upped his level of play in the East, like, drastically. And so I look at that and I go, man, okay, I look at Brunson's numbers. Brunson's numbers are pretty equivalent to last year, like lineup to lineup. Like, they have not progressed. And so I look and I go, okay, well, offensively, Jason Tatum has come back and his numbers are still pretty decent, even after an injury. But Karl Anthony Towns' offensive numbers have drastically dipped from last year, and so that's why when I say things like I need to see Jalen Brunson play more like Kolek and Alvarado, that does not mean stop being an offensive juggernaut. That means these guys play better when you help them play better. Like Mikal, OG, when you're creating for them instead of them having to create. OG is not a creator. Mikal is not a creator. Towns at times is not a creator. But like we saw last night, when someone creates for them and helps them, they're able to put up buckets. So for me, in order to beat a team like Boston, Jalen Brunson needs to not just create for Jalen Brunson. He needs to create for the guys that are struggling offensively, that find their rhythm with someone creating for them. If that is to happen, I think we're an elite team. But otherwise, when I look and I just go offense to offense, Jalen Brunson has raised. JB has stayed the same. Jason Tatum has stayed the same. Cat has decreased. That can be an issue when it comes to offensive numbers, because Cat's numbers have dipped. You have games like last night that he played really well when people are looking for him. But most times we've seen we've seen Karl Anthony Towns contribute on the rebounding, but really struggle on the offensive end over a certain amount of time. So that's where I'm like, okay, that could be an issue if we're not playing for one another. If we're playing one-on-one, they have more guys that can score one-on-one than our guys. Because I don't feel like OG is consistent enough, and Mikal's definitely not consistent enough offensively to go at other players without opportunities that are given for them. Like, Mikal Bridges is not going to put up 20-something points if he's the one that has to create those 20-something points. Like, if Jalen Brunson is finding him, or Alvarado or Kolek are finding him, Mikal gets those points. Like, you look, we've talked about this. Mikal scores how much more points on a cut than he does just sitting on the 3-point line waiting to get the ball. Always going to score more on a cut. And so I think it all comes down to, if we play as a team selflessly, we can beat Boston for sure. But if we're just going player for player, I think we might struggle. But when it comes to Detroit, the thing I'll say about that is Jalen Duren wasn't Jalen Duren last year. Jalen Duren has showed that on certain nights he can put up 26 points a game, like in a competitive game. Like he couldn't do that before. Like he couldn't. And Cade, even though Cade is still good last year, Cade was good for Cade. Cade wasn't good for the rest of his team. Cade this year has figured out a way to still be an elite scorer, but make his teammates better. Like Tobias Harris is now actually playing like the Tobias Harris of old. He didn't play like that before. And so I think that Detroit team is still different than the Detroit team we played last year.
I disagree on 2 points. I'll try to be as succinct as I can so I don't take too much time. The first one is that I don't believe that Boston has more players that can create their own shot than the Knicks. I think it's equal 4-4. I would say Vucevic, Tatum, Brown, and Pritchard. And then I would say Jalen Brunson, Cat, McHale, and OG. I would say even now there's levels there. Of those four right now, I put Jalen Brown number 1, Brunson 2, Cat 3, Tatum 4. As of for this season, I'm incorporating Cat's injuries. But Vucevic and Pritchard are about as inconsistent and critical on defense as OG and Bridges are inconsistent on offense. So I think, and the second point is, I think you're giving a lot of positives for the opposing team while not recognizing the negatives that they also possess. While when you talk about the Knicks, you mentioned both. It is important to note that yes, Jalen Duren is scoring more this year, but he scores a very specific way in pick and roll actions, rolling to the rim as an offensive rebounder, a putback threat, and a lob threat. He is not Karl-Anthony Towns. He's not a 3-level scorer. I would even argue he's not a 2-level scorer. He's simply around the rim. You put Mitchell Robinson, that can neutralize his output. And then I would say everyone else around Cade, you still have to think about Cade's lack of three-point shooting. He's still shooting below 38% the league average, and he's still even worse in the playoffs. So I think that is going to be something that we can use to our advantage to sag off him and be able to build a wall in the paint to let Duren not get easy putback opportunities. Karl-Anthony Towns, too, I would say, yes, numbers are down offensively. He's playing the best all-around basketball of his career. He's certainly playing the best defense of his career, and offense and rebounds affect both offense and defense. This is the best offensive rebounding year of his career and playmaking for others as well. So all those things are important to incorporate when looking at matchups. I think in both those matchups you mentioned, the Knicks still hold a competitive advantage.
I think you guys have done a lot of talking about the players, and we haven't spoken about the coaching. And coaching is very important in the playoffs. I think we saw Rick Carlisle, coach circles around Tom Thibodeau 2 years in a row.
Facts.
And we don't know. Well, I don't think we know like what we're gonna get from Mike Brown in terms of coaching. Like, what kind of adjustments is he gonna make from game to game, intra game, from one quarter to the next? Like, I don't know what to expect from this guy. I don't know if he's gonna be good or if he's gonna fall flat on his face. I really don't. And add that to the inconsistency of the Knicks team, I have a hard time understanding like how this is all gonna pan out. So I have worries on the player front, but I also have worries on the coaching front as well. What about you guys? So what do you guys think about Mike Brown?
So I'll throw this to Tone in a second. My whole thing after coming out with McHale's comments today is not necessarily my concern with the coach, more so the players reverting back to old ways, regardless of what the coach says. We know what the coach's desire is. Like, he's been completely clear since day one. I want to move the ball. I want to draw offense into the paint and dish out. Like, he said that in the post game when he first started, and he said that in the post game just after that Grizzly game. Yeah. So I don't think anything has changed on Mike Brown's desire. What I've seen throughout the season is certain players buy in at certain points and other players not to that desire of Mike Brown. So my whole thing is, how dedicated are all the players to the actual agenda of the coach, even this far into the season? Like, that comment coming out by McHale, like, that's kind of crazy to me. for this far in the season for this to already come out. Like for him to say, like, I don't, I don't take anything away from Jalen Brunson, but it doesn't have to be, a one-man ISO kind of situation. Like, that shows to me that even this far into the season, there's still some things that the players themselves aren't all clicking on, yet alone clicking with the coach. So that for me is the more concern, is like, you can have the best idea as a coach, but if all of your guys in your starting lineup are not in the same car and they're trying to drive in different directions, it doesn't really matter what the coach wants if they're not all riding in the same vehicle. What are your thoughts, Tone?
Yeah, I'm just writing down some notes as to what you're saying here. I absolutely agree there. To me, the question comes to mind, what is, who's the captain? Where's the line drawn between the captain and the coach, basically? So, the coach, of course, as you just said, has a clear view and agenda for the team. However, Brunson plays a certain way and he has a certain style. So it seems to be a disconnect between the way the coach, he wants to push the ball, but that's not the personnel that you have as your star point guard. You see, so that I think is going to be, again, wishing the best for the Knicks, but I feel like that could be a big problem for the Knicks as they move forward into the playoffs.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lee?
Well, I like the point that Al from Harlem brought up about coaching, and it's the great unknown. Here at KOT, we're going to be doing a series on Mike Brown's X's and O's and adjustments in that Sacramento series, which is the last one that he ran. He lost 7 to the Golden State Warriors, to try to glean some insight, just what was going on, and to try to understand what he was doing against a very good Warriors team, right? They ended up beating them in 7 games. But what I do know about Mazzulla is that Mazzulla's, in my opinion, the best coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
We wrote an article for The Guardian outlining the case why he's not only the coach of the year, in my opinion, but the best coach in the NBA and maybe the best in-game adjuster. So that's the concerning part, because we really don't know who Mike Brown is at this point in the stage, and it's very hard to understand what he is, because so much of the play calling and huddles are run by either Brendan O'Connor or Chris Chin. So it's very hard to attribute a certain adjustment or a rotation change or a schematic change in the moment to him. You don't know. Everything's by committee. The great collaborative is why he was hired. So I'm not going to be bold to say we can win on coaching. I do think we have a talent differential against both Detroit, especially Detroit, and Boston offensively, and even Boston defensively. Detroit, I think, is a superiority over us defensively. But J.B. Bickerstaff became a head coach in 2015. It's 11 years ago. And in that time, he's only won 1 playoff series his entire coaching career. So I think you can take that into account. The same way that Rick Carlisle ran circles around Tom Thibodeau ran circles around J.B. Bickerstaff. So again, that's not a team I'm wholly concerned with, even though I think in that series they would have the best player. I think Kate Cunningham is better than Jalen Brunson. And I've been saying that since preseason. It looks pretty obvious now. But I still think the talent differential, as long as JB doesn't go, Phil, as you know, ISO JB, Iverson JB, I think we have a chance to beat all these teams.
So my question to everybody, and then we'll start wrapping up. That to me is the scariest part, because especially knowing what we know about the Knicks community and Knicks Twitter, everyone says that for Jalen Brunson to be one of the best Knicks of all time, to surpass Patrick Ewing, all this narrative stuff that you see, he has to bring the chip to New York. And everyone says he has to bring the chip, as if it's on his shoulders solely. And we both know that Jalen Brunson at times overcompensates because of all the things in his past of talked about. He's too small. He's this. He's not the 1A. He was drafted late in the second, this, that, and whatever. And he has a overcompensating, presence at times. Is that going to play a factor? The fact that so many people put that gauntlet of power and responsibility for Jalen Brunson to be great, that he has to do these things. and we know he sees it all. We know he knows it all. Like, does that play a factor? Because I don't see anybody when it comes to Detroit feeling like they, as a sole player, have to prove something to be considered great. I don't see anyone in Boston as a sole player that feels like, if I don't do this, I'm not great. Like, Tatum's got a documentary about fighting through injury. He knows he's great. You know, he doesn't worry about that. Jaylen Brown knows he's great. You know, Cade Cunningham knows he's one of the best in the league. So will that overcompensation be a factor in the end of it? You know, like when he's going up against Jaylen Brown, who is possibly considered the better player on the court at that time based off this season. Will Jaylen try to overcompensate if we play Boston? Against Cade, who's considered the best in the East, will Jaylen try to overcompensate in that series to try to prove his worth over Cade? That's a concern that I have. You know, is will overcompensation be something that costs us the game? Because we've seen it before that we've played teams that we know we are better than and we have lost to. And it makes me go, why did we lose to that team? And so my question is, will that overcompensation play a factor in the playoffs? Like, will it keep him from making everybody in the starting lineup as important as him? Because it should be a team that conquers the other team in the playoffs, because the chip is the number one importance. Will he be distracted with accolades over team accolades?
Do you think he played like that last playoffs?
I don't necessarily think he played like that last playoffs, but I also don't think that he had as much to prove in the last playoffs.
As much pressure, yeah.
Like Cade Cunningham wasn't this Cade Cunningham last playoffs. No one was chanting MVP for Cade Cunningham last year at all. At the end of the day, when it came to point guards with the Celtics, Jaylen Brown was the guy riding shotgun. Jason Tatum was the driver. This season, it's the other way around. People are giving the accolades to the point guard in Jaylen Brown and how he was able to keep the Celtics in contention without Jason Tatum. And even since Jason Tatum's come back, he's played well, but Jaylen Brown is still the star right now of the Boston Celtics. So it's never been Jalen Brunson playing against other guards that people are considering better than him. And so one thing me and Lee have talked about is when he plays against Detroit, he does have that, I'm going to try to prove that I'm the best guy on the court, but Cade is still the better player. So will that be an issue in the playoffs?
That is what keeps leading me back to the coaching, because it seems like the coach is not getting through to him, because the coach has a way he wants to play and Brunson hasn't played the way that he wants to play. And so, like, if we're in the playoffs and he's playing a certain way that's not conducive to us winning or is not helping us win, can the coach it's the coach's job to reel him in and be like, yo, we need you to do X, Y, and Z instead of this isocentric ball is not working. And it's up to him to get Jalen Brunson to heed his advice and execute it. And it seems like he has not been able to get through to Jalen Brunson the whole year. So that worries me. That's the part that worries me. But I put it more on the coaching, not being able to get what he's supposed to get out of the player.
I would agree with you if things weren't structured the way they are in New York. Like, at the end of the day, this is not Mike Brown's team, okay?
Yeah.
Mike Brown was brought in to Jalen Brunson's team, okay?
Yeah.
Like, me and Lee have talked about this. Based on his numbers this season, if it was any other team come trade deadline, Mikal Bridges would probably have been traded.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Why? Because he's JB's homie. Like, it was constructed as JB's team. When you have your dad as a coach, things are different. Like, when the team sees you as their golden ticket. Like, you are that guy. Like, you can't tell me that you watch the LA Lakers and you go, oh, that's JJ Redick's team. No, that's LeBron's team. Like, let's be real about it. Like, LeBron could be a complete bum, but whatever LeBron says tends to happen out in LA still. And so I feel like JB is that equivalent when it comes to New York. I think whether or not he agrees with what Mike Brown says or not, he's going to do what JB's going to do because he's gotten the golden ticket. Mike Brown has not earned the golden ticket yet. JB has. JB has had that golden ticket since he made New York more relevant than they've been in years past and has become an icon for New York. Like, he is the most celebrated Knick since Patrick Ewing, like, and Carmelo Anthony. Like, he is that guy for New York. And Mike Brown has not earned that yet. So for me, whether or not Jalen Brunson listens to Mike Brown or not, I don't think he gets penalized for that. As opposed to if
he does either. Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to if you went to some other team and they're like, you either listen to the coach or you can sit. No one's sitting Jalen Brunson. Like, that's not happening.
If that's how we're playing, we're not going to win. There's no chance.
Exactly.
And no one's trading Jalen Brunson. So for me, I don't see it as like, oh, it's truly all in Mike Brown's hands, because I don't think it is. Like, he has said what his MO is since day one. Before he even stepped foot into a New York office, his first interview compared to now, his interviews are the exact same. He celebrated how much we drew into the paint and assisted and passed out.
Yeah.
We saw that in that last Grizzly game. But no one is going to say, hey, Mike Brown, you have an issue with Jalen Brunson? Why don't we sit him? You have an issue with how Jalen's playing? Tell Jalen he either changes or he sits. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all because of the way that we drafted, the way that we traded and constructed the team to revolve around Jalen Brunson. That's why you look at, like, last year, like with McHale had to come out in an interview and talk about the Tom Thibodeau stuff, which is what you're seeing now with McHale. He's coming out in an interview to talk about how we don't need to make it a one-man ISO, even though we know how great Jalen is and we can't win without Jalen. Why is he coming out in an interview with it? Because
McHale, he's calculated.
He needs to be a voice, and his voice is silenced in the organization because it's Jalen, everybody else on the New York Knicks right now. It is what it is. Tone, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's why I see that's going to be a problem in the playoffs, because again, that leads to chemistry issues, and that's why when we have this whole conversation around Jalen Brunson and the coach, I'm thinking about when we talk about 1A 1B, I'm thinking about Karl Anthony Towns and how despondent he looks in a number of games where he's not getting touches. Jalen Brunson's not looking at him, So I think that is going to be something that we pay attention to, see how that plays out. But it's going to be an issue if you have no accountability. And the issue is accountability. There's no accountability at the top of the chain. So when the rest of the players don't see accountability, why should they play up to the level? And again, to your question earlier as well, JB's question, I forgot who asked it. JB's question to the team: why are we playing? Why are we playing this way? Right? If he actually asked that question, I don't think you would like the answers, and again, that's just gonna, just cause more dissent in the team. But maybe if he was open to it, if he had a different mindset and could be receptive to that feedback, it would be different story. So it all depends, I feel like, on how JB digests feedback and see, perceptive of what's going on around him.
Yeah. So I'll say this, and then I'm gonna throw it to Lee. Shout out to Chick George in the chat. He said JB is our new Randall. I don't think I'm gonna go that far at all. I'm not jumping out the window with that craziness. I appreciate you.
That was crazy.
I just can't. I can't get myself to that. Shout out to JR Custa. Appreciate you. Thank you. Subscribe, like. Let's link up. What I will say is, with JB, some of my favorite games from JB this year have been when he's played off ball. He has still gotten the 25 to 30 points that he can get, but they haven't been forced. They haven't been him having to have low efficiency games because he's included other players in the offensive scheme, and he's gotten his buckets a lot easier. I think against teams that we're going to face, such as the Atlantas, such as the Detroit, the teams with length, JB needs to make it easier on himself, not harder. And the ISO one-man game is going to make it harder when you have length and you have good defenders. If they feel like you can and will pass at any given moment to another player, it's going to be harder for them to then want to double or triple team you. But if they feel like they know your recipe is footwork, 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 I'm going to get my shot, it's going to be easier for them to lock you down. It's going to limit what our offense can do. Dexter Henry posted something about Karl Anthony Towns and what was talking about the numbers that when Karl Anthony Towns has a certain amount of touches per game, it leads to turnovers, this, that, and whatever. But one thing you have to realize about those numbers is that it's not in an offense that is moving. It's an offense most times than not that is either ISO Jalen Brunson or ISO Cat trying to get into the paint. Yes, that's going to lead to turnovers. As opposed to like other games where if we are constantly moving, then it's not going to be a nonstop turnover ratio. It's going to be a lot easier for Cat. It's going to be a lot easier for Brunson. It's going to be a lot easier for Mikal. It's going to be a lot easier for OG. One thing that we've done nonstop is we've crucified Mikal Bridges this season for some of his games. But one thing I've said for months, and if you don't agree with it, just watch the games and you'll be proven wrong, is Mikal Bridges' best moments have been when he's not on the court with JB. All of his assists have previously come from Karl Anthony Towns, Tyler Kolek, Josh Hart, OG, like all of these guys, and even Diawara have found ways to find him on the cut, to find him on the cut and then go out to the three-pointer. Why? Because those guys are looking with eyes wide open when they're playing their offensive schemes. They're not playing eyes down, dribble, head down, to score mentality. And it has allowed Mikal to find a way to score. And so Mikal is not a I'm going to produce for myself kind of player. He's proven that. Like, he doesn't like contact. He doesn't, like, he is not that guy. But he is the guy that if you're willing to pave the way for him, he can be a bucket. And he's proven that. He proved that last night against the Grizzlies, that he's not going to stop moving if you're willing to look for him. But when his role in a Jalen Brunson offense is to stand by the three-point line and wait till you get the ball, or here you have 8 seconds left on the shot clock to do a fadeaway, he is not going to thrive in that offense. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So for me, Jalen Brunson can do us nothing but amazing, like, grace if he actually just finds a way to not have to dribble so much, play off ball, and play as a whole team. Because on paper, we are better than all of these teams, but that's if all of our guys are being utilized. Not if one of those guys is being utilized to the greatness and then everybody else fades in the background for when they need it. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, you made a great point about no one in the playoffs having more pressure than Jalen Brunson. That went through my head. The Rolodex of the teams that would be entering the playoffs that have not won a championship. You can't say a player on a championship team has pressure. They've already won, right? Yeah. Unless you're like one of the greats, trying to prove you to win more than one. Not the case here. SGA is going to win another one soon. I think about the other guys that are going to the playoffs that haven't won yet. It's too young for Cade, too young for Wemby. Really, it's Donovan Mitchell. I think he's the only other guy going to the playoffs with supreme pressure to win now because he just made a major seismic move for Harden. But even him, I don't think the pressure is as high on him as is Jalen Brunson. And here's the thing. Now, Jalen Brunson is, I think, has the most responsibility for us to win a chip. But I think the most pressure is actually on Mike Brown. I think Mike Brown was hired to be fired potentially this year. In my opinion, he does not meet minimum what Tom Thibodeau did last season. He's probably going to be let go, and I think he should be let go because he was explicitly labeled as an upgrade. They felt like Tibbs was not the guy to bring them to the finals, and they went out and got the guy they believed was. That's who they landed on. Maybe not the first choice, but he was on their short list, and they ended up hiring him. Once you hire him, you are giving the signal that you trust this man to win a championship for you. And what did Dolan say on the fan? We expect to make the finals. That was the floor. Then he said, if we get to the finals, we can win. That is immense pressure. And Al from Harlem hit the nail on the head. Brother, your takes are really solid. One give you your flowers, too. And piggyback off what you said, because, man, it's Mike Brown. Mike Brown is the only person being paid to course correct Jalen Brunson. Everyone else has an opportunity to voice their concerns and to tell him, but there's only one man being paid to force him to change, and that is Mike Brown. If Mike Brown cannot do that, and we fail because Brunson at some point, a critical juncture, goes ISO mode, tunnel vision, it's going to be Mike Brown's going to be partially responsible for that, and eventually I think it'll be his neck on the chopping block.
And I hate that, though. Like, when I look at all of the coaches that are out there, like, maybe there's one or two in the league that can make Jalen Brunson, like, surrender his elitist pride. Like, if he's pushing back against Mike's, offensive, like, desire, like, I think that's insane, because if I look, then I go, okay, right now, we are at the same spot that we were with Tom Thibodeau when it comes to win-loss, column.
Yeah.
However, that was after after Tom Thibodeau was with the team for how many years, as opposed to a coach that is in his first year. And in his first year, he's able to match what this coach did in his tenure of being a Knicks coach. Like, he was still able to match the amount of wins, losses with a whole team that he just learned pretty much right before preseason. Okay. Which he had no control over any of the players that were signed, any of the players that were traded in the offseason. None of that was actually catered to the scheme that he was trying to push there, as opposed to Tom Thibodeau, who pretty much had full-on claymation molding capabilities of the New York Knicks. And Mike Brown is able to match what he's done to this point. Second, Mike Brown has done something that Tom Thibodeau never did, was develop and use rookies and vets in the capacity of both to help win. Like, Mo Diawara has shown that he can now be someone that we continue to buy into. And the fact that Mo Diawara has such a high ceiling, and we've seen that because Mike Brown has allowed him to play, makes you want to make sure that Mo Diawara is here for years to come. We would not have probably seen that under a Tom Thibodeau regime. So for me, like, I can't just go, because he's only had a lateral move. He's had a lateral move in 1 year, as opposed to Tom Thibodeau's tenure with the Knicks. His tenure with the Knicks got us to this many wins in a season. Mike Brown, who had no control over anything in the preseason, has allowed us to be equal to what Tom Thibodeau was able to do after years and years of coaching the New York Knicks, even with players that weren't good at all in the offseason, such as Yabusele, and then trading for new players halfway through the season and finding a way to implement them so that they can affect winning, such as Alvarado, has, and finding a way for Clarkson to go from up here to down here and now find a way back here. So I feel like that is a something that I look at Mike Brown and I say, no, he has not, not met expectations. I feel like he has surpassed expectations because he's been given less than Tom Thibodeau was given, and yet was able to, like, his roster was the same, but Tom Thibodeau had control. Tom Thibodeau knew who was coming in and who was coming out. Tom Thibodeau had previous experience coaching Karl Anthony Towns. What player on our roster has Mike Brown had previously coached in our starting lineup? Nobody. Nobody. What relationship did he have with any of those players previously? None. Tom Thibodeau had relationship with Jalen Brunson since he was a wee one. He knew Karl Anthony Towns very, very well. He had the advantage there. Mike Brown came in right before the season and had to coach a team that he had no say or no control over. So to me, I can't knock him for that at all. I think that he's done a pretty freaking good job with what he's had, and also finding the talent within our rookies in Kolek and Diawara. You did not see Kolek thrive under Tom Thibodeau the way that you see Kolek thriving under Mike Brown. Same player, same kid.
But his biggest fail is not he was also brought here to maximize Cat and Brunson, and he hasn't. And that's part of the reason why Thibodeau got the boot too, right? Because he wasn't able to maximize them. Now
So
Mike
maybe
Brown
it's not the coach.
hasn't been able to maximize them. So he's not getting through to Brunson. So like they're not going to trade Brunson. So Brown is
that's
going to be
the thing.
the head that has to roll.
So here's the thing. When someone comes to me, you know, and I've had friends of this in the past, and they call me and they're like, man, I'm like, how you doing? Oh, things are rough. What's going on? Oh, well, me and my boss, we couldn't get along, and he's just a jerk. So I don't work there no more. Like I refuse to work there. And he's like telling me about his boss, and I'm like, dang, bro, like this is the like sixth boss in the last like year, like that you say has an issue. Like maybe the common denominator is not the bosses, but you know, like you're the one that hasn't worked out at these jobs. So if Tom Thibodeau, who was a very, 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 very good coach, couldn't make the dynamic of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson fully work, and Mike Brown can't make the dynamic of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson fully work, is it a Tom Thibodeau issue? Is it a Mike Brown issue? Or maybe is it that those two do not make each other better at the end of the day? Because
the Cat Brunson point you just made is the one thing you just said that I actually agree with. I'm not really sure I understand why we're giving so many reasons or excuses for Mike Brown. I don't think you can really judge him on the regular season in terms of is he the right coach for a championship? That will only be judged by the playoffs. But Mike Brown did this job. Like, it's not like this job was forced on him. He's not a prisoner. He chose to come here. He chose to take on that responsibility. Once you say yes to a contract in the millions of dollars, you are now held accountable for the job performance that you put forth. And so far, I think he's done about the same job that Tom Thibodeau does. I think he's been a little bit better on defense, but he seems to maybe have some defensive staff he actually listens to help incorporate some changes, even though they're using the Tom Thibodeau special icing the ball handle and pick and roll, which adds an extra layer of irony to all of this that has kind of shifted our ability to crack into a top 10 and stay there. But this is Mike Brown didn't have any say-so on the roster, but he inherited an Eastern Conference Finals team. Tom Thibodeau inherited a lottery team, right? They had just gotten done drafting R.J. Barrett and being in the lottery back-to-back years, and then they drafted Obi Toppin his first year. So he's inheriting a way better squad than Tibbs was, and he's inheriting a team that has proven at bare minimum that they can make the ECF. So in my opinion, man, like I don't think there's any reason to give him any leeway or leniency in the job that he does in the playoffs. If he does not meet the ECF, he's got to go.
Here's why I push back on that. You say he inherited a lottery team. You're right. He did. But he was with us for 5 years to get to what he did last season. Like, that's 5 freaking years. Like, so it's not like he took that lottery team and then we were in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals that year. It took 5 years for him to get out of the New York Knicks what he achieved. And he did so with the front office being fully behind the ideas and thoughts that he had of roster construction. So, yes, he inherited a lottery team, but we can't act like he inherited the lottery team and all of a sudden he turned it into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and he was the golden ticket. Like, it took 5 years to get there.
He did. But his first year, he made the playoffs and won Coach of the Year. So I would think he did a pretty phenomenal job in his first year.
Mike Brown's going to get us in the playoffs his first year.
Well, we were already a playoff team, though. That's a lesser accomplishment if you just make the playoffs when you were last year.
You can't judge based off of that because Mike Brown inherited a team that was a playoff team already. Like, what I'm saying is it took 5 years for Mike Brown to get the win-loss in a regular season to what it was with a team that he had help constructing. Mike Brown did not have help constructing this roster in any way, shape, or form. And yet he's still able to equivalently match those numbers. Win to loss column right now are equivalent to what they were in year 5 of Mike Brown. So yes, I understand Tom Thibodeau did a lot of that groundwork, but Mike Brown hasn't had 5 years to make adjustments and improvements. Like, he's taken what he's had and has been able to, in his first year, at least keep it to what Tom Thibodeau was able to do in 5 years. 5 years is always going to be more opportunity to put in work and get results than 1 year is. That's always going to be the case. Like, sure. So when you look at what Mike Brown has been able to do, like, even with new players that he's never had, like I said, Tom Thibodeau, to reach the numbers that he reached, he had the comfort and relationship since childhood with Jalen Brunson. He had the experience of coaching with Karl Anthony Towns for years. Those things are not things that are things to look past and say, oh, those didn't contribute to the fact that Tom Thibodeau was able to do what he did. I didn't say they didn't contribute. What I'm saying is in giving Mike Brown his respect, he didn't have either of those. He didn't have any relationship with our number one star in Jalen Brunson at all. He had no relationship and previous coaching with a single player on our team. He tried to make changes, and even within his changes was able to achieve what Tom Thibodeau achieved in year 5.
I don't take anything away from Mike Brown. I think Mike Brown's been overall for the whole season an above average coach. I'm going to save my real grades and dictation of him for the postseason, but I do think that you're underselling Tibbs. 3rd defense in the NBA, playoffs, top 5 seed, immediately first year in the NBA with a starting 5 of Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock and Nerlens Noel is unbelievably impressive. He also turned around Julius Randle, and he was the one that developed Jalen Brunson into the superstar that Mike Brown then inherited. I don't think Mike Brown had to be here for the Bridges trade or for the Mitchell Robinson re-signing to say that he now has credit. He inherited a better roster than Tom Thibodeau left. It was upgraded by the additions of Jordan Clarkson and renewed Landry Shamet, actually healthy. I would say that he has the best roster, while Tibbs had to work. That roster he had, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, was not ECF. There was no more magic for him to do because as long as you have RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin and all these other pieces and injured Mitch, you weren't making let's be real, bro. That was not an ECF roster. It wasn't ECF until last year when you had a healthy OG, a healthy Mitch Robinson, and Karl Anthony Towns. Then it became ECF. So you didn't say 5 years to get there, but during those first 4 years, we were not a championship level team.
I don't want to harp too much on Tibbs versus Mike Brown. It's really should just be focused on Mike Brown. Real quick before you go.
Tone just said he's got to get to work in the morning. So shout out.
Peace, Tone. Bro. Thank you for pulling up.
So much. You are welcome here anytime. We appreciate you coming through.
Firing Mike Brown just because he doesn't make the ECF, I don't know if that's like something that for sure you pencil in. Like I have to see how it happens. Like if he's getting out coached. Tone, did you want to say something? Plug yourself before you leave.
Yeah, my guys. My apologies. You're having some technical difficulties, batteries dying, and all that fun stuff. But appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a great conversation tonight. If you guys check me out, primarily on Facebook. As you can see, the gray hairs in my beard, so I'm more of the old school trend. But I'm trying to branch out onto Instagram and maybe eventually onto YouTube. But check me out, Tony Tones Real Talk. I post again on Facebook channel and across on Instagram. And again, hopefully I can connect with you guys again. And Lee, it was a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully we can connect directly as well. In the future as we move forward.
We will, bro. Promise.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Brother, appreciate you.
Have a blessed one.
You too, brother. God bless.
So what I was starting to say is I just think continuity is important. And what Mike Brown has had to come in and do, which is what you were alluding to, Phil, is like, you notice in the beginning of the year he was calling out Cat in the press a lot. Like, and that's like, bro, that's not how you get through to Cat. He had to learn how to get through to these players. He probably still hasn't learned how to get through to Jalen Brunson because he's not playing the way that he wants them to play. So like he had to learn how to coach these guys. And then they all have to buy into his system. They have to learn his system. And people are like, yo, it's game 70 something and we still learning. We still don't know what we're doing. It takes multiple years to really like hit on all cylinders, like coaching, knowing what you got to do, knowing the system, knowing all that. You don't flip your fingers and everyone just knows it in 1 year. Like it just doesn't happen that way. And just because you went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year doesn't mean you're going again next year. Like the LeBron James teams obviously all went, and the Celtics did it a few times. But more often than not, you go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you probably you'll be lucky if you make it again the next year. Like, so that's kind of like a hard thing for you to like inherit. Like you have this demand when most teams that make the Eastern Conference Finals or any conference finals, they don't really two-peat that. Even that's hard to two-peat, like making it there. So I would caution on bringing in a new voice that has to learn how to get through the Cat, or Cat probably won't be here, how to get through the Brunson, how to handle Dolan, how to handle Leon Rose, like, and all of them how to work together. Like that instability is what had us in the dumpsters, like for all these years. Like stability is important. So I would be a little concerned about just firing him as a knee-jerk reaction. I'll give him probably 1 more year.
It seems to be what James Dolan's going to do, though, because he said himself out of the horse's mouth that his expectations are to make the finals. And then he said, once we're there, I expect us to win. So the pressure, and Mike Brown took that pressure. If you think about Mike Brown, he's always hitting pressure. Let me coach LeBron, right? Let me coach Kobe.
Yeah.
Let me coach the worst team in the NBA, in the Sacramento Kings. He seems to like having his back up against the wall. I'm obviously rooting for him because I want that chip. I think he's a good coach. Yeah. We got to see what he does in the playoffs. But if he loses in the first, second round, bro, I think when you hire him to be an upgrade from Tibbs and you lose in the first, second, you almost have to fire him to save face.
Yeah. Here's the thing is I don't see us losing in the first or second round. But if we lose in the first or second round and it's because a player refuses to play a style of basketball that the coach is trying to make us play, and we realize that that style of basketball is what would have won us the game, I think it's foolish for the coach to ignore the players that caused us to not play the style of basketball that would have won us that series, and to just put it on the coach and be like, nope, you were wrong. Like if we go out there and we play Mike Brown's style of basketball and we get eaten up, he deserves to be fired for sure. But if we go out there and we decide to play ISO one-man basketball and we go, the reason we lost is because we played ISO one-man basketball, I think Mike Brown needs to be fired. That makes no sense to me because the one thing Mike Brown's trying not to do is one-man ISO basketball. So to go, oh, the reason we lost is because we didn't play your style of basketball, so we're going to fire you, like that is asinine to me.
Yeah, so if we don't make the ECF, we're gonna have the Knicks content in the offseason. It's gonna be on fire. Oh my god, so many different things to talk about. We have The other person that you're not allowed to talk about on Knicks Twitter is Leon Rose, as if he created like this amazing roster with no flaws. But I digress on that. But
anyway,
we will talk about that in the offseason.
It is 11:30, and my wife has been very, very gracious as she's in the living room, like, get the frick out of the room. So I'm going to get everybody's closing thoughts. I think it's great that we don't all see eye to eye on this, because that just shows that everyone's got their own mind and we're not just robot trolls, like Twitter tends to be at times. If they don't listen to, we'll talk about that next week. The Real Ham for free. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. But here's the thing is like, he asked, like, is it on the coach if they don't listen to him too?
Yes.
I think it is, but also at the end of the day, what coach, if a superstar, like we see that even with Giannis, we see that with tons of superstars. I think this NBA is different than the past NBA. Okay. Like in the past, when I grew up, you would have like the Michael Jordan, who's the greatest in the league. That was pretty much one of the few guys that could say no to his coach. Like, and he earned that because he was the greatest in the league. But I feel like we have a lot of Michael Jordans on every team that feel like they have the right to say no to their coach. And I don't think that that's always the coach's issue, as more so how the NBA is now compared to how it was before. I feel like with LeBron, we saw a huge change into it being the player who is more so the coach and overall authority than the guy that was brought in to be the coach. And so you have the guy who's the superstar who makes the millions, and then you have the coach who really doesn't make the millions, that's come in, that's supposed to be the authoritative voice, but you've bought into the player so much that he is the authoritative voice.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that that's all coaches' issues. Like when I look at JJ Redick screaming for LeBron to pay attention and to come into the game, and LeBron James is just sitting on the sidelines with the other team talking in the middle of a game, like that's unfortunately the new NBA, where the star can override the coach's leadership. I think that's a problem from the top down when it comes to the NBA, if I'm completely honest. But at the end of the day, I think it comes to both. I think the player needs to buy in for the sake of the team, even if he doesn't fully agree. That's one thing we said about Towns earlier, that he wasn't figuring out how to fit into the system. I feel like he has found other ways to contribute and to fit into the system, even if he doesn't fully look like Karl Anthony Towns of years previous. He's now offensively putting up, great offensive boards and defensive boards, which have been great contributing factors to us. So I think that it has to be a blending of both. I think there needs to be a compromise between coaching and players. I don't think it's one or the other. And I think in order for us to win a ring, it's going to require a sacrifice of both. Because if not, if Jalen Brunson is, I am alpha, you are not, I'm not bending the knee, what coach are we going to get that actually makes him bend the knee? Like, what would it require? Like, who out there do the New York Knicks have to get in order for Jalen Brunson to say, your will, not mine? I don't know. I don't know what coach that would actually be, because I don't know if there's anyone out there that would make that player say, okay, I'll succumb to your ideas, your plans. So I really don't. If you guys know a coach that you think Jalen Brunson would say, hey, I'm going to forget who I am and I'm going to buy into whatever you say, cool. Let's bring that player in. I mean, let's bring that coach in.
But that coach needs to inherit Rick Brunson into his staff. He needs to bring him into his staff. And will he be okay with that?
I don't think Rick Brunson should be on the staff anymore.
I don't think so too.
I'm tired of Daddy being on the bench, but I think we're exaggerating Jalen Brunson's mentality a little bit much. I do agree.
I think so too.
He has tunnel vision, but he's not this arrogant, me over team
He
personality.
wants to win. Yeah, he
I
wants to
think
win.
it's more instinctual than it is a purposeful rejection of Mike Brown's system. It's just something that he almost can't help, which can be a little bit more of a threat in terms of dangerous to hurt your championship tendencies. But we have never lost a playoff series because Jalen Brunson went ISO ball or he went tunnel vision, ever. We've lost because our defense or because we faced a team that was a terrible matchup for us. So I don't think there's going to be any scenario where we lose and it's Jalen Brunson's fault for not following Mike Brown's game plan.
Okay, so this is what I'll close with. If that's the case, why do you think, Lee, that his best friend just publicly made a comment about how it does not need to be he said, I don't feel like as a player, knowing how great a talent he is, every time he has to give it up. I don't believe that. His skills are undeniable. But I think our offense and trusting that everybody can make plays and don't have to make it stagnant for one person will make it easier, makes it easier for teams to guard us. So his best friend, who he's played with since college, just publicly made a statement that he knows
he needs to get off the ball.
that JB doesn't, that JB's great. He's not asking for JB to not be great, but that this JB stagnant offense makes the Knicks predictable, and makes it easy for teams to guard us. We got a lot of talent. We just have to share the ball and play off of each other and make reads. This is his best friend, his teammate since Villanova, who is
and
saying,
we know it's not Mike Brown calling the stagnant offense for Brunson. We know it's not Mike Brown calling that. Yeah, so that was Mikal talking to Brunson.
That was Mikal publicly talking to Brunson, saying, this is going to make us predictable. This is going to cost us games. I'm not asking him not to be great, but we need to share the ball.
I think he said that because it's absolutely symptomatic of the regular season and has been for every regular season Jalen Brunson's been in New York wearing orange and blue, but it has not been symptomatic of the playoffs. It is something he allows himself to do in 4 quarters in crunch time of regular season games. Specifically, as you and I had mentioned, it's very good lead guards, the SGAs, the Cade Cunninghams, Tyrese Maxey's, but we have not seen it with our own 2 eyes. It happened in the playoffs. So I think Bridges is just reminding his teammate, listen, the regular season matters too. Seeding matters. Home court advantage matters. Let's start this rhythm early and not wait for the postseason to play team basketball.
Okay, so I'll ask you this. So if that question from Mikal is ignored by his best friend and we lose based off of stagnant basketball in the postseason and Jalen Brunson ISOs, does Mike Brown deserve to get the chopping block because what the teammates were asking for and what the coach was asking for was the opposite of that stagnant ISO-focused offense? Yet we lost because our star resulted in that. Does Mike Brown deserve to bear the weight of that burden, even though it was opposite of what was instructed and asked for by his teammates?
No, he would not deserve a chopping block, but it would also be the first time in Jalen Brunson's playoff career that he's ever done that in the postseason. Again, he has never caused a series, his team to lose a playoff series because he went ISO mode. They have only lost because of a lack of defense or a bad matchup. So if that happened, no, Mike Brown should not get fired. Mike Brown should not be fired. Jalen Brunson should we should reconsider him being the first option because he became a completely different player that we've never seen before.
Okay. All right. So we will see what happens. I hope the reason I critique in the regular season is because for me, if you're not going to play that way in the playoffs, why do that in the regular season when you can help create the chemistry in the regular season with your teammates so that they're ready for chemistry in the playoffs? Because if Mikal Bridges felt confident in what this team could do offensively right now, he would not need to make comments like that. But they are not feeling confident in the way the offense is right now. So he's making those comments. So for me, why wait to the playoffs to build that chemistry of the offense instead of building on it now so that it has a solid foundation going into the playoffs so that it's not you're learning how to play with your team together. Because when I look at it, if the Pistons have already played that way all season long, it comes as second nature for them in the playoffs to play that same way. They're not learning something new. They're not doing something different than they did in the regular season. They're just building on what they already started. As opposed to us, if Jalen Brunson's like, oh, no, I'm going to switch that on now that we're in the playoffs. Now these guys are getting familiar with a sharing the ball offense that they didn't experience for 82 games. For me, that doesn't make sense. For me, if I have 82 games to perfect something so that in the playoffs it's at its best, why would I not do that instead of I'm going to play this way in the regular season, but then I'm going to switch it up and be inclusive in the playoffs? Now your team is learning what inclusivity looks like in the most important games of the year, as opposed to we know what inclusivity looks like and we know we can thrive.
Jalen has done it in spurts. He just hasn't done it consistently because he had a couple 15 assist games. He had some big assist games. He just hasn't done it consistently.
Yeah,
I would say the reason he does it is he knows it works, and we know it works too, because he's been one of the greatest playoff performers literally in NBA history in terms of consecutive games with 30 plus points. He's one of the most lethal scorers in postseason history, and he did a lot of that with a very poor offensive core around him. Every season before Cat, essentially, he was the number 1, number 2, and number 3 best player on the court. So it's unbelievable. I think he uses the regular season to hone out some of his bad and late game situations when he's having a defense that he finds interesting enough to try to figure out and break in real time. But he knows in the postseason, and we know as fans, he's going to be a less ISO-centric player, except when you really need it in crunch time. Otherwise, he's going to share the rock. And it's how he was selfish in parts of last season too, but we made the ECF once the playoffs started.
Hey, the playoffs can't start soon enough, man. 5 games. Our next episode is going to be the last episode before the playoffs. So playoffs will be here soon.
So here's what I'll say. I hope you're right, Lee. And maybe that is Jalen Brunson's MO. But I think from Mikhail's statement, that might not feel like the comfortability that the team is feeling. Like they want to wait until the playoffs to know what it's like to all be included in the offense. You look at even Cat's, comments at the end of that last game, talking about they did a great job moving the ball, playing with that kind of, selfless mentality. If the rest of your team is saying that they are feeling at their best when they're all included and feeling like the ball is moving, even though you may feel like waiting till the playoffs is when it's best for you to start being inclusive, you have to read the room as the captain. You have to read the room as the captain that the rest of your guys are not feeling like they can wait to the playoffs to feel like they matter to this team. So if your guys, 2 of your starters have come out talking about the inclusivity of what it felt like without you being on that floor, maybe as the captain, you go, okay, this is maybe how I operate best, but what's best for the team?
I'm glad he made those comments. Especially, I think it's the perfect timing. It's a wake-up call, slap in the face, whatever it needs to be. They're going to iron some things out in these next 5 games and then the week off before the playoffs. And they're going to get ready for that. That makes me feel better than the 7-game win streak that we had against bum teams. The fact that he was willing to say that, and I know that they're going to have real dialogue and carve a path forward to all get back on the same page to go win a chip. I like that. Thank you, Mikhail. That's the biggest contribution he's given to the Knicks all season.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's like me and Phil. We don't get on each other's nerves sometimes. I'm sure. And Bridges has known Brunson way longer than any of us have known each other. So I'm sure there's some personality quirks both on and off the court.
Yeah,
That rub each
yeah.
other the wrong way. Obviously, Brunson and Cat rub each other the wrong way in certain capacities on the court. So I think Bridges he saw what it was like for the first time in a long time. No Brunson and having Kolek and Alvarado two fat pass first guards
Yeah.
and the offense, and Cat almost sometimes a pass first big initiate the offense as a hub.
Yeah.
I think he was like, oh, this is a lot more fun than just kind of staying around the corner and do back.
Watching Brunson. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was a reminder of we should play like this more often, but we had not seen that kind of play, a super reduced role of Brunson off ball. We haven't seen that win the playoffs, right? We haven't seen it win a series. We've seen on ball, heavy on ball, the most on ball Brunson get us to the second round twice in ECF. So to me, it's all about matchups. You have a matchup where it really demands everyone being incorporated. You got to do it. I think that's OKC and that's San Antonio. But in this East run, I think we could get all the way to the finals with Brunson being the same in the postseason as he is in the regular season.
Here's my only pushback that I'll say, and then we'll close. The East physically looks different than it did in previous years. When we played against the Hawks before, they weren't as long and as strong as they were, as they are now. They weren't as defensively elite as they are right now. Okay.
You could say the same for Detroit too.
Yep. Detroit, same thing. When you look even at Charlotte, like aggressive, fast, but also length. There has been a lot of teams that we've seen this year in the East that have caught on to the Jalen Brunson footwork, and they have found ways with their height and with their defense and their double teaming to limit what he's able to do. We were going through some of the numbers of Jalen Brunson struggling against those taller teams in the last few months. We went through those numbers earlier in the episode. So I do not think these playoffs are going to be the same as the playoffs before. Why? Because a lot of these players have taken a step offensively. I don't think Jalen Brunson has taken a step offensively. Matter of fact, I think he might be equal or a little bit behind offensively to what he was last year. Like if you look at his stats have not changed any drastically at all. His skill sets are pretty much the same. And there's years of tape now, as opposed to before, where there was no footage on how elite his footwork was and so forth. So they have found ways like we can't stop his footwork, but we can stop him with height. We can stop him with this. We can stop him with that. And if he's playing on ball instead of off ball in those games, it limits what the other players can do. And if Jalen Brunson gets limited in what numbers he can produce offensively because of the defense and because of the height, and our other guys are not in the mode where they feel like they're actually thriving in our offense and they're stagnant because of the stagnant offense, that's going to play a factor in the playoffs that did not play factors before. Because now you don't have little Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, as your guys that are playing defense. You have guys that are a lot more defensive-minded in Atlanta, guys that are a lot more defensive-minded in Detroit. You got guys that can actually double team and make Jalen Brunson's life a nightmare like they have in the games that we've played against them. So for me, I think it's a different game, and I think we're going to see that in the playoffs. I really think we're going to do that, and I think Mikal knows that, which is why he's voicing things. I think that's why Cat is voicing things, because they know they've seen their star get kind of clamped down in some of these games that he did not get clamped down in previous seasons, and they know that. They know that more than any of us know that, and they want to make sure that if he gets clamped down, that this team is able to still find a way to win if Jalen Brunson is clamped down, which is why Mikal made sure to say, I don't want him to not be great. I don't expect him to pass it all the time, but we all need to feel included. Because in those moments where they clamp him down and Detroit makes it hard for Jalen Brunson to score, or Atlanta makes it hard for Jalen Brunson to score, or the height from the 76ers make it hard for Jalen Brunson to score, why then are we going to ask for our guys to find new ways to contribute when they could have been doing that already and had the idea of what's going to happen when Jalen Brunson gets clamped down?
I do share that same concern that this playoffs may be. I know JB is a playoff riser, but I do share that same concern that this playoffs may be a little bit harder for him, given the way that these teams have constructed their rosters with all this height is specifically focused to stop Jalen Brunson. So I do share that same concern.
Yeah, the same way that we constructed our team to try and fight against Boston that one year.
Yep.
But Boston wound up switching and trading everybody. I feel like a lot of players on the East did what they saw in the West of, hey, height and strength can be an advantage. Like, even if they're not the most elite scorer, if they can stop the elite scorer based off of their height and physicality, let's do that. And we saw that switch in the East. Quick little updates. The Thunder destroying the Lakers by like almost 50 right now, which is kind of crazy. We got the Pistons won again without Durham. Without Cade. Jenkins had 26 points against the Timberwolves. The Hornets put belt behind to the Phoenix Suns tonight. So they have another win under their belt. So update on what happened tonight. But
I'm going to make one more closing statement.
Go for it.
Strongly disagree with you, Phil. I do not think the East is better this year than last year. I think the East was better last year. You had Boston coming off of a championship. You had Indiana coming off of an ECF appearance. Both those teams were better last year than they are this year. And all the new teams, I'm talking about Toronto and Charlotte, they have no playoff experience. Most of Atlanta's roster has no playoff experience. So you got to account for the negatives as much as you account for the positives. And there's not a single team in the East that is bigger than they were last year either. I'm not sure where you guys are getting that added length situation. Like, yeah, Trae Young's gone from Atlanta, but now they have 6'3" CJ McCollum, who's like 35 years old and a cone on defense. So every trade-off that's a positive, you also have to account for the trade-off as negative. I do not think the East is stronger this year than it has been in years past. I would say it's about the same. The one thing you're missing is a return defending champion in Boston Celtics, which the Knicks beat last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you there. Like when I look at the teams that are starting to make their rise now.
Atlanta's one of the hottest teams.
Yeah, Atlanta's one of the hottest teams.
Experience. They have no playoff. That matters tremendously.
That does matter.
Tremendously. Like Charlotte's been in the playoffs since 2013.
Yeah, 2012. That's why I'm not afraid of Charlotte.
Atlanta's the same team it was last year, with the exception of no Trae Young. Jalen Johnson was there last year. Okongwu was there last year. I'm not sure.
But they've gotten a lot better. Both of those guys have gotten a lot better.
I would also argue the Knicks have gotten a lot better too. We're better defensively this year, and we're better offensively this year, and we're better net rating this year. So again, I don't like. This is why I say confirmation bias, and it makes Phil and I debate. But you can't just say the things that support your argument. You got to say both sides.
The negatives,
The knowledge is a balance.
I am saying both sides. I'm saying what I've seen with Jalen Brunson, and whether you think those teams are better or not, how he has fared against those teams. How has Jalen Brunson fared against Detroit? Tell me that.
They beat him in the playoffs last year.
I'm not talking about last year. I don't give a crap about last year.
Against their best defender, Asir Thompson. He shook him off and he hit a chop jumper.
I do not give a crap about last year at all. I'm asking about this year because when people talk to you about Mikal Bridges, you don't want to hear about how Mikal Bridges had a block in Boston last year. Okay,
that matters.
It does, but you've also said get him off my team this year.
Yeah, because he's not worth 5 picks. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Everything.
So he may not be worth 5 picks, but if you're going to talk about last year, we don't do what we did last year without him. So I'm talking about this year and this year alone, because these are the teams that we're playing in the playoffs. We're not playing last year's teams in this year's playoffs. We're just not.
But Asir Thompson has not gotten better defensively this year. He is the same elite player he was last year. He was excellent last year. He's excellent this year. And that's the same player Jalen Brunson eliminated with a single shot in a 6-game series. Detroit only added Duncan Robinson. I'm not really There's that almost that imaginary players you guys are talking about that have been joined to a team. Like Tobias Harris is not playing that much better than he was a couple of years ago. Like that's just categorically untrue. Duren is playing better, but I also contextualize it with he's not a 3-level scorer. You build a wall and contain him in a post with Mitch, and you're probably going to slow him down. Cade is better, but Cade was elite against us last year in the playoffs too. I don't think the addition of Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson pushed them over the edge, because you also remember they lost Schroeder, and Schroeder was a huge part of killing us along with Malik Beasley in last year's playoff series.
See, that's where I disagree, because Jalen Duren is a better player this year than he was last year, for sure.
But I said he's not a 3-level scorer, so you don't have to.
I'm not worried about him being a 3-level scorer.
Well, that's what makes someone dangerous, Phil, is not being a 1-level, but a 3-level, because I have to guard his 3-point shot, his mid-range shot, and his post moves. Duren only scores around the rim. So what I mean by that is you don't have to scheme for him as much as you scheme for Cat, who can do everything and is playing the best all-around basketball of his career.
See, I think if that's truly the case, the Knicks would not have struggled against the Pistons in the regular season. If
we lost 3-1 the regular season to them last year, and we eliminated them in 6 games.
But I think they're a far better team this year than they were last year.
Phil,
where did they end up in the standings last year?
We are also a better team than we were last year. That's my argument. Yes,
but we're not a better team this year than they are this year. They made a lot larger leaps. We were second in the East last year.
I would say
third in the East right now.
I would say record-wise, obviously they are better than us, but I think overall we are still a better team than the Pistons.
Then why have we not been able to beat them?
For the same reason that we couldn't beat them last year in the regular season, because the regular season is a different level of competition than the playoffs. And because they don't have guys that score their own shot off the dribble like we do, it's going to hinder their ceiling and not ours. But it's going to raise their floor in the regular season and not ours, because any team on any given night can beat any other team. But in a 7-game series, the best team almost always wins.
And I would agree with that if they didn't put belt to behind multiple times throughout the season. Like if it was, it's anyone's game in 7, anyone can win 1 game. They didn't just win 1 game.
Yeah, last year they won 3 and we won 1, and we still beat them in 6 games. That's all I'm saying, Phil, is that we are a team that plays our best ball in the postseason. We have not seen that from the Pistons, because they only have one guy at the end of the day, one guy who can create his own shot. Duren cannot create his own shot.
So what I'll say is last year in the regular season, we saw less teams be able to defend Jalen Brunson's ISO basketball than we have this season.
I don't know. I mean, how do you quantify that? How
do I quantify that? Looking at the forced attempts, looking at the fact that these teams have locked him down and the turnovers, like that's easy to watch the game and see how he plays against teams like Detroit and how he plays against teams like OKC, or how he plays against teams that are bigger and focused on locking him down. It looks drastically different in the regular.
I feel like there's a blueprint. I feel like there's a blueprint out there on how teams want to.
Exact same amount of points this year as he was last year. The exact same amount. I don't know how you quantify that he's not the same player.
Of course, he has the same amount of points. Look at Cat's points. Cat's points has dipped. Someone's got to get the points.
But you made the argument that he's taking a step back, and that statistically is proven wrong by just looking at the data. The data says he's not taking a step back. No one's figured him out. I think that he might force the issue sometimes, and he's forced issues in very important games against very good teams. But I don't think holistically we can say that he's been the cause of our problems. Because damn it, man, we're the 3rd team in the East, and we're in the top 5 in net rating. I mean, how much criticism can you really give him?
Hey, I hope I'm wrong. But to me, from watching it and from hearing from the actual horse's mouth, so many people thought I was out of pocket thinking that people had any issues with Tom Thibodeau and how he was coaching and letting certain people play or not play. And certain people were like, yo, you're just making this up. This is your own thoughts. Then it started coming out that players started making those comments, such as Mikal Bridges. To me, if your best friend is making comments, that means your team is thinking the same thing that I am, that the ISO Jalen Brunson moments are causing this team from reaching their next potential. Like, I'm going to take someone from the team's opinion more than anybody else's. Why? Because they're a part of it. They're the actual players trying to win the championship. Why? Because a championship makes us happy as Knicks fans, gives us warm and fuzzies as fans and content creators, but it's their career. They pay the bills. It's their legacy. It's what they're stepping on the court night in and night out for. So I don't think Mikal Bridges makes those comments about his best friend publicly if he does not think that it's going to keep the Knicks from actually being able to achieve something. And so when he comes out and says that, I think that he is on that same page where he believes that if Jalen Brunson ISOs the way that Jalen Brunson has been ISOing in the playoffs, that they are going to lose. Mikal Bridges would not voice it if he did not feel like it was an actual issue. He voiced it about Tom Thibodeau, and it actually became part of what started the unraveling of Tom Thibodeau not being here. So I think if Mikal Bridges is going to use his words, he knows the power of using his words. And I think he released that for that sentiment, to see a change before the playoffs, because he believes a change needs to happen if these Knicks are going to do something.
Bridges made his comment in the postseason because it was a postseason issue. Bridges made his comment in the regular season because I believe it's a regular season issue. And the only way you can prove me wrong is if you can show me a series where Jalen Brunson caused us to lose because he went too much ISO. And I challenge you to find one. I expect you will not, because
but I don't need to, because if I can't find one, Mikal can't find one either.
But you can find regular season games, and Brunson has been the cause of us losing regular season games, which is why he said it in the regular season. But he's never been an issue in the playoffs, so that's not one. I'm worried about a lot of things in the playoffs, but I'm not worried about that.
So if that's the case, if that's the case, and everyone felt that way, why would Mikal voice it and just go not just go, it's just regular season? It's not going to happen in the playoffs. It's just regular season. I don't need to waste my breath. I don't need to comment on it because this isn't what Jalen does in the postseason. So it's going to be completely different in the postseason. Why would Mikal Bridges waste his breath unless he thought it was an actual concern?
Because there's less than 2 games differential between the 2nd seed and the 6th seed. Standing matters. Winning out matters. Home court advantage matters. And Brunson regular season ISO can affect all of those things. But he didn't say anything about the playoffs or history of Brunson. He didn't even call Brunson by name. So this argument in itself requires a lot of assertion and assumption. No,
he said Brunson by name.
I have to head out, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'll close. He did say Brunson by name. He did say JB. But anyway, I'm going to go. My wife's going to kill me. Love you, bro. But yes, look at the quote. He actually intentionally said JB. Like his
if
quote.
He said JB, that's totally cool. But I don't think he was talking about the playoffs because it's never happened before. So why would he assume something that hasn't ever happened?
We'll see. He's never called out JB before either. So anyway, love you, bro. Have a good night. And everyone locked in, appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon. God bless.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now.